stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Where'd you get this beat from?
No idea, to be honest with you. Why is that?
I was just curious.
A little catchy?
A little catchy.
Do you know where it's from?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were asking, like, as far as that goes. But welcome in. Happy Friday. It is a Friday.
Yes, sir.
It's Friday. Let's pick up the energy a little bit because I kind of noticed it's been a little quiet. It's just kind of, it's bled. It's a little dreary today. It's got cold again. Tomorrow's going to get even colder. Apparently, there's some potential accumulation of snow that could potentially hit us coming up around the corner. You know, it's interesting nonetheless. But we welcome you in. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty and Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Hey, you know what? When we come back into the show, do the show on Monday, we'll know where the Wright State Raiders are playing, and I'm pretty confident it could potentially be at UD Arena.
Oh, man.
NCAA tournament first four, yes. I didn't realize I had so many Wright State, so much Wright State apparel, by the way. Could always use some more.
Absolutely.
Could always use some more. So, there's never a better time to sport the Wright State gear than when they're dancing in March. The Dayton Flyers, they'll tip off their conference tournament run coming up here at 6 o'clock. So we'll talk about that here momentarily, as well as the Flyers look to win their conference tournament to get to the NCAA tournament as they try to do what the Raiders have done, and that's punch their ticket to the big dance. Do they need to win the entire thing to be able to go dancing in March? That's still up for debate. Again, the Flyers are part of the first four out. They're right there. I mean, Indiana got a huge win. Knocking off Illinois today after beating Michigan yesterday. So Coach Woodson doing a good job at Indiana, and Indiana making a little bit of a run. Ohio State last night, they go down at the hands of Penn State.
Another double-digit lead.
Happen, man. We just talked yesterday about, the job that Chris Holtmann has done and everything, and just now all of a sudden that collapse. Like Ohio State has just, they have not played well down the stretch. So we'll see. The only thing is a lot of times come NCAA tournament time, even if you have struggled down the stretch, there's just something about once you step foot on that tournament floor, it awakens something in you. Sometimes if you are a team that's rolling into the NCAA tournament, sometimes you kind of let your guard down a bit. You're already confident. How much more can stepping on the NCAA tournament themed floor, what more can it bring out of you? You're already riding high. I think that I'm not trying to put too much of a positive spin on this, but I think that the best thing that could happen for Ohio State is the fact that they lost yesterday, because now they won't play again until next Thursday, and it's Friday. That's a lot of time to kind of decompress, get all that negative energy out. The guys that are banged up, they can heal up. Zedke and those guys, they can kind of get a little bit healthier. They don't have to rely on winning a conference tournament to get to the big dance. So to me, and maybe this is the Ohio State homer in me, but I don't bleed scarlet and gray for Ohio State basketball. I love Ohio State basketball, but it's not what, you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. I'm pulling for the Buckeyes in the NCAA tournament like I am Wright State, UD, and everybody else, but my allegiance lies with the green and gold, of course, more than anything else. But the bottom line is I actually think that this is a decent thing for Ohio State. if you won yesterday, Ohio State's locked in as like a 6 or a 7 at this point. So they're probably going to drop maybe to 8 at the first. I mean, you know what I mean? Like a 7. I don't know. Bottom line is there's nothing more they could have really done. If they win the conference tournament, now they move up into like a 6 or a 5 or a 5 or a 4 seed. How much more? What more has that done for you? I don't think it does much. I think that the time off between now, losing last night, they won't play again until next Thursday or Friday, depending on what day of the tournament they fall on. To me, Kev, I actually think that this is a good thing. It's 5 or 7 days to kind of rest back up, heal up, re-energize a little bit, refocus. There's something about when you see that NCAA tournament logo, the March Madness logo, that light switch just flips a little bit. And it doesn't matter if you were rolling into the tournament or struggling into the tournament. That logo, that March Madness logo means something. It just kind of wakens something up in you. Ohio State was upset by Oral Roberts last year, and they were rolling into the tournament. Mm-hmm. I actually expect, here's my hot take already. I have the Buckeyes in the Sweet 16 already.
And you don't even know the bracket.
I don't know the bracket. I don't know who they're playing, but I'm confident in Coach Holtman, and I think that this run, this struggle that they've been on over the last month, I don't think it's an indictment of who they are. I just think it's the ebbs and flows of a season. They were hot in non-conference. They were hot to start Big Ten play, and they finally hit a wall, and it could not have come at the worst time. But I think this next week is a perfect scenario for Ohio State to kind of rest, heal up, re-energize, recoup, and basically recenter mentally wise. So we'll see what ends up happening, but I still think this is a decent thing that happened, although I'll never say I hope we lose but I do think that there is a silver lining here.
I'm glad you're glass half full on this situation, because I'm half glass empty on this situation, because I would have preferred them obviously to win the Big Ten tournament, but to win at least 2 games, get some good momentum, because they've been playing bad basketball. They've been losing to teams that they're much better than. And I know that type of things happens, but like normally after you lose to a bad team and everything like that, guys normally bounce back, but they've had collapses to now this Penn State team. They've lost to Nebraska. Obviously they lost to that team up north who they're much better than and everything like that. So just to get that good feeling back, because you talk about the March Madness logo and everything like that, stepping on that arena, stepping on that floor and everything like that, you will hope that stepping on that Big Ten tournament floor gives you that feeling as well, to like, all right, man, the regular season's over. Here's a new opportunity to start fresh and to get some momentum building into that tournament. The Buckeyes have no momentum. They have zero momentum going into it. I remember actually the year that the team that I follow, Syracuse, they had momentum going into the tournament because they made a run in the Big East tournament that year. I believe they ended up losing to Georgetown in the semifinals and everything like that, but they got their mojo back. I think they lost the 2 last games of the regular season, then won 2 or 3 games in the Big East tournament, then eventually went on to win the national championship. I just would like to have some type of positivity going into the tournament, because right now the Buckeyes don't have any positive momentum going in there. Some of these leads that they're blowing, to teams that aren't on that level as them, not on the same level as them as talent-wise, based off of recruiting and everything like that, or based off of wins that Ohio State has had earlier in the season. It's dangerous. It's dangerous because we talked about it yesterday about how some of the fan base is starting to turn on Coach and exiting early. Now that you had another early exit from the Big Ten tournament, you have nothing else to hang your hat on. You don't have oh man, we're top 5 all season long. You don't have that to hang on. You don't have something to hang on a Big Ten championship. You don't have that to hang on. Now it's really all about this run. And we said it yesterday, a minimum Sweet 16 run. That's the minimum. Now, first round exit in the Big Ten tournament, man, maybe an Elite 8 run is going to have to be necessary to kind of get the Wolves off Coach back right now.
I think at the very least, I don't think, and it's amazing to me how many media members out there have put out there that, man, if Chris Holtman goes out in the first round, his job's in jeopardy. I don't think his job would be in jeopardy this season. I think that would warm the seat heading into next. Mm-hmm. But you're right. Sweet 16 Elite 8 run might be just what the doctor ordered to kind of cool off. I think the seat's warm if they lose the opening round game, whoever it's against. Okay, whoever they face, and the last time we checked, Joe Lenardi had them matched up with Memphis. Okay, if they end up running, and that's a dangerous team to run into. Mm-hmm. Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers, they've been trying to figure themselves out all season. A lot of injuries, guys out. But come NCAA tournament time again, that gives those underdogs a little bit of confidence. And Ohio State, although it might be the favorite based on seeding, if it is Memphis, of course, again, this is just Joe Lunardi's bracketology report. If that is the kind of matchup, Memphis is a dangerous team. If I'm a reeling team like Ohio State, the last team I'd want to play is a Memphis or a Dayton Flyers team. Let's say Dayton wins the A10, and let's say that they're not in the first four. They get that 11th seed or what have you, and they end up running into Ohio State. I'm telling you right now, the Dayton Flyers, if the way Ohio State's playing, I wouldn't want to run into them. I wouldn't want to run into Xavier. I wouldn't want to run into a lot of those type of teams that already would have it out for Ohio State.
Yeah.
So I just think that the Ohio State needs to be careful mindset-wise. It's not going to be a give me, but I do think that first-round win is going to be very important to kind of cool off the seat of Chris Holtmann and to kind of back off the detractors a little bit as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, after that win over Illinois, like the wheels just kind of fell off. They lost, 4 or 5, right?
Mm-hmm. That was a big win against Illinois.
Huge. On the road.
Now, they almost squandered that too, though. They had a big lead against Illinois, and they had to hold on for dear life. And that was Illinois is struggling down the stretch. So you start looking at the fact that, Illinois was locked in as a 1 seed for the longest time, and now they've kind of dropped into that 2, now a 3 seed range, possibly a 4. So Illinois struggled. So how impressive was that win? That's impressive. It's a road win's tough. Right. Illinois is a tough environment, but man, nonetheless. But Indiana speaking of Illinois, they lose 65-63 in a close one just a little bit ago. Again, the Big Ten tournament, Big Ten champion will be crowned on Sunday. It will not be Ohio State. Some A10 news. Again, Davidson beat Fordham earlier on this afternoon, 74-56. St. Bonaventure trailing St. Louis as we currently sit here now, 24-20. Flyer fans awaiting the tip-off for the Flyers and UMass coming up at 6 o'clock, and that'll be on the USA Network. And the Dayton Flyers are a 10.5-point favorite. 10.5-point favorite. Richmond VCU coming up later on tonight as well. So keep in mind, for the Dayton Flyers to get to the NCAA tournament, I'm not saying I don't know. I'm not confident they're at large. They're not getting in with an at large. I just don't see it. Maybe if they get to the A10 title game and they lose a close one and other teams around them on the bubble, kind of stumble a bit too, maybe that could help them. But that LaSalle loss, and then we know what the resume, how big of a hit it took, and they're only going into the season in November into December. But they, UMass tonight, 10.5-point favorite, should take care of business if they play the way they're supposed to. But then you have to take on VCU tomorrow, who's a 3.5-point favorite over Richmond right now, and then Davidson most likely in the championship game coming up on Sunday. And like I said, Davidson took care of Fordham earlier today pretty handily, 74-56. So they're playing good basketball, as we now know. So 26-5 is that Davidson record, by the way. Like they're set. They're ready to go for the tournament when that time comes. Dayton 22-9, VCU 21-8. Baseball fans, we're going to talk some baseball coming up. The voice of the Cincinnati Reds just shot me a note. He said he would love to come on. Tommy Thrall was going to join us coming up at 3:30. So we'll finally be able to talk a little Reds baseball, not just lockout stuff, but we're going to talk a little Reds baseball. I'm hearing reports all over the place, Kev. I'm hearing that the Reds are going to be aggressive and really try to now that the market cooled off for Castellanos because of some of the other high, price range that other guys have gone for, now they might have a shot. But I've also heard that the Reds have been very active as far as the trade conversations are concerned. Have we seen the last of Sonny Gray? So we'll get to all of that with Tommy Thrall coming up here in 9 minutes. Let's go real quick, too, just while we're here before we transition back over to baseball. Joe Lunardi talked about the bracketology report, of course, and we could put a little, put a little music in the background just to give it a little life today. It's Friday. I can't believe how flat the building's been today. I looked at Kev, I said, today's Friday, and we're just kind of blah. We got to step it up. So we're stepping it up for you. Update, Joe Lunardi's bracketology report after a lot of teams dropped yesterday. Of course, Ohio State lost. We saw some tough losses for teams who aren't on the bubble but are in the mix of things. Alcorn State and Nichols as the 16 seed matchup. If this was the final bracket for the first 4, Wright State and Bryant. The other 16 seed matchup, Wyoming, Wake Forest, Xavier, and now Indiana's back in the fold. That Xavier-Indiana game would be a hell of a game. Yeah. I'm just bummed that Archie's not the coach at Indiana. How cool would that have been to see Archie on the sideline back at UD Arena with Indiana in the NCAA tournament? But that's obviously not the case. But he's done a good job.
Yeah, that Indiana victory is bad for UD.
It is. In Oklahoma, they got a big win yesterday. They're kind of surging a bit, so the more, that's the thing. They're kind of right there with Virginia Tech. The problem for Dayton, it's not that they're not good enough. Sometimes, like when teams get in the NCAA tournament, like someone asked me earlier, so Wright State, they're the best team in Ohio, huh? No. With all, I love my Raiders, but no, not even close. Not even close. They're not better than Xavier. They're not better than Ohio State. They're not. I think that they're not better than Dayton. I know that from a talent perspective, but it doesn't mean anything. Like, it's not taking anything away. But being in the tournament doesn't necessarily mean you're better than teams that don't.
Right.
But this is the reality for the Dayton Flyers. For instance, if Oklahoma makes the NCAA tournament, are they better than Dayton? I don't know if it makes them better, but they play better teams. So Oklahoma has a better shot at getting a nod. Like, let's say, Wake Forest or Wyoming takes a big lump here in the coming days. Now Oklahoma could probably get that bump up. I think that they would get the bump before Dayton would. Why would you reward an A-10 team over an ACC team or a Big 12 team? I think it's pretty, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this yesterday, man. It's all about the tournament. It's all about making the tournament and making a deep run in the tournament. So Wright State is in. So if UD doesn't make it in, whose season is better? Wright State's is better because they made the tournament, because that's all that matters.
You're right. The season's better. I mean, you accomplished the number one goal outside of winning a national championship. The number one goal for every college basketball team is to at least, and for people that think the Ohio State Buckeye basketball program is in rough shape, it's not. Because if you're in a position where, remember where it was whenever Thad Matta left, they couldn't even get to the NCAA tournament. Now Chris Holtman's been there every single year since taking over, and the seat's hot because he's not able to do anything once he gets there. So it's a healthy program. It's a better problem to be in than the program that can't get there. But yes, is Wright State the best team in Ohio? No, I would never say that. And I'm a Wright State homer. I will never say that, and they will never say that. But are they having a better season than everyone else? If they're one of the few Ohio teams that makes it, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
You want to know who just had a fantastic season is Toledo. Toledo won the regular season title. They're going to go to the NIT and make a run in the NIT, but they won, 26, 27 games? They're not making it.
Nope.
It's tough. I mean, you have to be perfect. You have to be perfect as a mid-major if you're not a high-major team. That's just the reality of it. And the Dayton Flyers, that's the reality of it. They still have a shot. They got, again, UMass tonight, most likely VCU, Davidson Saturday, Sunday to that's who lies in front of them. That's what separates them from the NCAA tournament. So that's kind of how I view that. When someone asks me, Wright State, they're the best team in Ohio, I'm like, well, they're right now one of the few teams in the NCAA tournament from the state. They're having a better season. They've lost more games than UD, but if UD doesn't end up in the NCAA tournament and Wright State does, Wright State's had the better season. Simple as that.
Same way when George Washington made the Final Four. They made the Final Four. They had the best season out of anybody in the A-10 because we as fans have dumbed it down strictly to what you do in the tournament. So it's all about the tournament, man. Get in the tournament, UD. Have Wright State and UD in the tournament. I would love it. Love it.
Jacob Fightmaster. Jacob Fightmaster. That's a badass name, by the way. Jacob Fightmaster says, as a Seahawks fan, I'm just hurting right now. Justin, why did the Seahawks do this to me? Trade Wilson, cut Bobby Wagner. Now there's reports Seahawks could deal Lockett. I wouldn't even stop there. I'd look out for the tank that is their wide receiver. I'd look out for Metcalf too. If you're going to blow it up, blow it all up. Yeah. I get it. Look, the NFL, you could turn it around quick. When I find when the Reds hit the rebuild button, I panic because that's a 4 or 5 year project. That's not we're going to rebuild for 1 or 2 years and compete for a World Series in year 3. No, that's a 4 or 5 year project. That's what stinks about baseball rebuilds. Football, they're not fun, but there are fun aspects to it. The losing kind of gets old, Kev, but then when you start looking at the draft and you start looking at all the cap space, and then you really become enamored with the free agent market, you become enamored with all the options you have in the draft, and then you draft your quarterback, and then you can't wait to watch the young quarterback take the field. I mean, again, I think the Bengals fans are glad to be past that rebuilding stage, but I don't think that they will give up any of the emotions that they felt throughout this journey with Joe Burrow. Like, when Joe Burrow first captivated the hearts of all these Bengals fans, you guys will never forget that. You know what I mean? Like, you'll never forget that. You don't want to go back to it of trying to learn who your quarterback is, but like the rebuilding part was kind of fun when you started hitting on some dudes, like you started hitting on some picks. You got T. Higgins, you got Joe Burrow, obviously. Jamar Chase was huge, obviously. The kicker, obviously, and McPherson, Mixon, they've killed it. And that part's fun if there's a silver lining at all. And you know me, Mr. Positivity. Hey, let's talk some Reds,
especially about the Bengals.
Oh, exactly. It's Friday. I'm just trying to do my part. Let's talk a little Reds. Let's talk about that other team in Cincinnati. We know that the Bengals were able to turn things around and make a trip to the Super Bowl this year. Cincinnati Pro Sports fans, can you expect the same kind of season for your Cincinnati Reds? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But we'll talk with the voice of the Reds, Tommy Thrall. He joins us next.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
This is Dan. Dan uses Navy Federal Credit Union to save and invest. Luckily for him, Navy Federal takes the legwork out of managing his money, which gives Dan time to work on other things, like his new auctioneering hobby. If you want to be like Dan, learn about our savings and investment options at NavyFederal.org/save and invest. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
Bidder number 63.
Savings products insured by NCUA. Investment options are available through Navy Federal Investment Services and are not insured by NCUA.
CSX Transportation is an industry leader on the move. The railroad company has immediate openings for freight train conductors. Join the CSX team and start your paid-on-the-job training today, earning nearly $25 per hour with no degree required. If you're safety-focused with a passion for great service, you've got what it takes to move your career forward at CSX. Apply at csx.com/careers. That's csx.com/careers. CSX is an equal opportunity employer.
Want to find out what handheld perfection tastes like? Just stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken today for a flawless family feast with the 12-piece strips meal at a great price. Get 12 premium tenderloins that are
Etc. Can't watch your favorite basketball team in person? No problem. Audio Etc. can bring any game home. It's better than being there. You have to see it to believe the incredible quality of the picture and sound. 4K is amazing, but just imagine the 8K experience. Come to Audio Etc. today and experience 8K TVs and projectors. Surround sound? You haven't heard surround sound till you hear Dolby Atmos 360 degrees. It puts you smack dab in the middle with 11.2 channel surround sound. Audio Etc. has the brands, the deals, and the excitement. Audio Etc. Powered by Klipsch, Bowers & Wilkins, SVS, Marantz, Denon, Sony, and a whole list of high-performance brands that you've probably never heard of. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon and Centerville. Or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom.
Hey everyone, this is Rudy with Ohio Can. Did you know there are more than 200,000 young people in Ohio being raised by grandparents, relatives, and close friends, kinship, and adoptive families? Sound like you? If so, we want to say thank you. You are amazing. We also want you to know the entire team at Ohio Can Kinship and Adoption Navigator program is here for you. Have questions about childcare, education, finances, or more? Ohio Can help. Remember the K for kinship and call 1-844-OHIO-KAN or visit ohiokan.org to learn more.
If you're suffering every day with joint pain, stop and listen. You can get real, lasting relief now with natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetic. Hey, it's Keith Byers. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue with no surgery and no drugs. This is the relief you've been hoping for. The unique protocols at QC Kinetics were created by a physician with years of study in regenerative restorative medicine. They're treating patients every day in hundreds of clinics nationwide with remarkable success, life-changing results with zero downtime. It's the new, better, smarter, non-surgical, non-invasive way to deal with joint pain. And yes, they're right here, ready to help you now. Call for a free consultation. Make this spring and summer your best ever with no joint pain holding you back. Give them a call at 937-936-0325. One more time, 937-936-0325.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Well, you could tell baseball has been kind of on the back burner for a while because I just went to ESPN's website to click on the MLB tab and couldn't find it anywhere. You know, those little 3 dots off to the side, Kev, like that's where they put all the other sports that people aren't talking about or reading about at the moment. It's about time we move that back to the main bar up at the top, right?
Yes, sir.
It's time to talk some baseball. And, you know, I've been holding off on reaching out to Tommy Thrall or any of the voices of the Reds because I'm like, well, there's nothing to talk about. Well, guess what? The season's back. We now know that the Reds, as well as the rest of Major League Baseball, will open up on April 7th. And I tell you what, there's nobody. I got to play the baseball music in the background. I'm excited. I could finally start being excited about baseball again. Mr. Tommy Thrall joining us now. He's the voice of the Reds. Tommy, how are you? How's it feel to be employed again, right?
Hey, man, it is great. I tell you what, I was walking on clouds yesterday, just, hearing throughout the day that it sounded like they were really, really close. And I was really optimistic for the first time in a while, and felt like I had reason to be optimistic. I've been pretty optimistic this whole time. Of course, like all of us, we've been disappointed a few times, but man, I was so pumped, and I still am. Making arrangements to get out to Arizona and watch some baseball, and I cannot wait. So I'm pumped.
So let me ask you, because we got a lot of those funky rules a little bit about, like, you know, you couldn't reference the players' names. Like for us, like we couldn't use any of the player images. We couldn't use any of their images or names in any promotional material. What were some of you doing the Hot Stove League and everything? Like, what were some of the rules of the do's and don'ts as far as referencing the players, and how difficult was that to juggle in the work that you continued to do during the lockout?
Yeah, really kind of the same thing. I mean, we just, they didn't really, you can't use player names because it's kind of viewed as promotional. So that was a little challenging, but we got through it, and it was great. We had some wonderful guests. Jim Day did a great job lining up guests for us. He's just got so many great relationships with people throughout the Reds organization, past players and Reds Hall of Famers, and the Reds helped us out too when we had a little trouble getting somebody. So it was just great to be able to catch up and talk baseball and kind of get some stories out of guys that maybe under ordinary circumstances we wouldn't necessarily get to talk to and have those discussions. So you make the most out of your situation, whatever it was, and that's the hand we were dealt. So we made the most of it, and it had some really, really nice conversations as a result.
Yeah, the Major League Baseball lockout, after 99 days, it's officially over. The season is back, and players and team personnel, media members have already started reporting to spring training. And again, we've yet to get any update as far as when spring training games will officially start. But, I mean, for you, I think right now, Tommy, it's just about feeling that excitement and pit in your stomach of getting to spring training and just setting up shop and starting to feel a little sense of normalcy for the first time in a while, because this is the third straight season where things just are different. Even I know we only missed the first 2 weeks, but it's still the third straight season where just things haven't been normal. The shortened 60-game COVID season in 20, no fans to start the year in 2021, and now missing the first 2 weeks with all the negative coverage of the lockout. But it's going to start to feel normal once you finally get to spring training, fans in attendance, and kind of getting to feel the full effect, if you will.
And yeah, that's the thing that I think is really worth noting in this whole thing. Once we get going and once spring games start, you won't really notice that it's a little bit later on the calendar than normal. I think it'll really feel normal, and we'll feel back to normal real quick. And I think that's the part that's important in all this. It's important to kind of put aside all the if there were negative feelings, put those aside, because now we've got baseball back. I think the product on the field is going to be better. I think this agreement is great for the players. It's great for the fans. It's great for the game of baseball. So sometimes these things take a little bit of time to get done right, and I think they did. I think they got it right, and I think we all come out on top in this deal. So now we're just ready to get the spring season started. I think it'll open at some point, probably next week, maybe late next week. Still waiting on the official schedule, as you mentioned, but we do know that the first game is going to be in Atlanta against the Braves on April 7th. We'll open the home slate with the home opener on April 12th against the Guardians. Still got to get used to saying the Guardians, by the way. That's going to be tough. And then there's obviously some new rules that we've got to adjust to, and what's been officially decided upon, what's not. I know the double headers are back to 9 innings. The ghost runner at second base is gone. So I'm going to miss saying the ghost runner, but that's all right. We'll get through that. And there's obviously a host of other changes as well that we'll brush up on and get used to as we get along. But I think the thing is they all make the game better, and that's the important thing. And I think one of the things that shows that baseball is really listening to its fans is they got away from the ghost runner at second base. I think by and large fans just didn't like it, and baseball fans didn't like it. And that to me, you still have to cater to baseball fans. And I think by and large, like I said, I don't think they were a big fan of that, so they got rid of it. And I think that was a good decision. I definitely concede the fact that I was in the minority of people that actually didn't have a problem with that rule, but that's fine. I can be outnumbered. That's okay.
You know, you talk about getting back to normal. What's your expectations for the fans for that opening at home series versus the Guardians on the 12th?
Well, it's going to be fun. I mean, it's still, I think everything regarding that it's a brief homestand. It's 2 games and then right back on the road and heading out west to play the Dodgers and Padres. And I think it's still going to feel like opening day. I mean, it really will. I really hope that there's still the same number of folks that'll come down and fill the banks and fill the ballpark and just really get excited to have baseball back. I know they're going to announce some more festivities surrounding that home opener in the next few days, which will be really, really exciting. But yeah, I expect it to fully feel like a normal opening day. And I didn't even, last year you had the limited capacity on opening day. Obviously the season before that, the shortened season in 2020, you had no fans, but it was limited capacity last year. It still wasn't as crowded last year. It just didn't feel the same. I think for the first time in 3 years, we'll finally have an opening day that truly feels like opening day. Even though the regular season starting on the road, we're still going to have a big celebration once the team comes home to open the home schedule. So it should be a lot of fun. I have no doubts. There's one thing that Cincinnati knows how to do, and that's party. And I'm sure that'll be a great party.
We have Tommy Thrall, the voice of the Cincinnati Reds, with us here, finally able to kind of get into the spirit a little bit of the upcoming baseball season. Players and media personnel, fans all gearing up for what could be a shortened spring training, but spring training nonetheless, and the season will open up on April 7th. The Reds on the road with the short stint against the Braves, of course, but we'll highlight that more later on. Tommy, you talked about some of the rule changes for the upcoming season, and one that I'm most fascinated by really isn't for this upcoming season, but starting in 2023, Jared Diamond had tweeted this out earlier today about one interesting nugget that's in the new agreement. Starting in 2023, the schedule will feature fewer divisional games, and every team's going to play at least one series against every other opponent, including in the other league. The exact format is still being determined. This is something I've been preaching about for years, that I know it goes against the traditional aspect of how baseball is viewed, and everyone likes the tradition and the history of it. But, you talk about putting your stars on display and making them accessible to the fans. It's hard to do that when you can go years without seeing more than half the league come to your ballpark in a season that's 162 games long. The fact that over the last 10 years, we've only seen the Yankees come to Great American Ballpark once, that's a problem, or twice, I believe. But either way, that's a problem when you have the biggest market in baseball with the biggest stars, and we can't see them or touch them or feel them or see them. That's a problem, right? Like, I like this. Your thoughts on that change coming in 2023?
Yeah, that was one that I was just alerted to, I think, yesterday, and I had missed that during all these conversations initially. And so, yeah, that was something that I kind of looked at and I thought about it, and I thought, because when interleague play started, I was a pretty big fan of that, actually. And I thought, well, good, finally get a chance to see, because I grew up in an American League city, so I was excited to finally see National League teams come to town. And I think it's great. There's 162 games on the schedule. There are plenty of games for 30 teams to all play each other. So, yeah, I don't think it compromises the integrity of the division winning and all of that stuff. I think with the way you remix the postseason format, now you've got 12 teams in the playoffs. There's plenty of games to go around. I think it's great for the exact reasons you mentioned. Now fans will have a chance to see Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani. The Yankees will come to town. You'll see the Red Sox every year. There's just so many great things about all of this that I think is sure. You may look at it and think, well, it's a little different than what we're used to, and I liked it when it was the American League and the National League, and they only played each other in the World Series and the All-Star Game. That was great, but now the rules are the same in both leagues with the DH. So, I think we've just kind of moved past that. Now, if you kept the rules the way they were before, and you're only playing each other in the All-Star Game and the World Series, great. I thought that was awesome too, because it really put a little bit more value on those games. And but now everything's pretty much equal. It makes sense for everybody to play each other, and I think it's a great step forward for the game. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for fans to see teams, and you're still not going to see them all the time. I mean, you're not going to have enough. You don't have enough games to see all these teams all the time. So when you do play them, it's going to be important. It's going to be one of those things where if the Yankees are coming to town, you got to make sure you're there, because you only get one shot at it, and you may only get one shot at it every couple of years. So yeah, it's awesome. I think it's a great opportunity, and I think it's great for the game.
The universal DH, my view on this has always been, for one, I like it, but regardless of whether I like it or not, my big thing was always, I think there should just be a universal DH or no DH at all in the game. I've always found it silly. And again, tradition is always the excuse that comes back about, you have the same sport, same professional sport under the same umbrella, but one league has one set of rules and this league has another set. That'd be like in the NBA, if you get fouled on a jump shot in the Eastern Conference, you get 2 free throws, but in the Western Conference, you count the shot. Can you imagine? That's always just been mind-boggling to me, but that's the norm of baseball. So that's changed. So I think about how that impacts the Reds, and I look at a guy like Joey Votto, who last year, finally he was able to get back into the groove of things. He'd kind of been down for a few years, and we just kind of contributed to. Well, he's an older age veteran player, and it was only a matter of time before we started to see the decline. Well, the decline, he was going in the opposite direction last year. I'm excited to see how he comes out of the gates this season and what this universal DH role could mean for a guy like Votto and his future with the Reds. He spent his whole career here. I know you're not a general manager, Tommy. You're just the voice of the Reds. But if you put your GM cap on, what could a DH, the universal DH, do for a team like the Reds when you have a guy like Joey Votto, who can't put him on the field every day as he continues to get older? But, man, this opens up the door for options when it comes to what he could do with the bat in his hand.
I've had enough conversations with Nick Thrall and David Bell to know that they are glad that I don't have a GM hat. So that's definitely a good thing. No, I think the beauty of the DH in the National League, and I'm my whole thing is I liked it the way the rules were different slightly in different leagues. They were played differently. They were originally the leagues were founded separately. I just kind of liked that, and that was, and it's fine. It's the same. It's all Major League Baseball. You're probably right in saying that the rules should be the same. You're right. They probably should be. Was the game better with pitchers hitting? No, it probably wasn't. Did I like it? Yeah, I did for some reason. It was just kind of one of those little nuances of the game, and what's to keep pitchers from being able to hit in their own position. I could see it both ways. Look, I have no objections to there being a universal DH. And as it pertains to the Reds, this is going to be a blessing, certainly, because you talk about Votto. I think one of the things, you're still going to see Joey play most of his games at first base, but what it does is it gets him off his feet a little bit. And you're right, he is older. I think Joey and I are about the same age, and I know how I feel when I get up in the morning, and I'm not nearly in as good a shape as he is. So I don't have the workout regimen that he does, but I know what it's like to get up every day, and it's, things ache, and they ache for no reason, and that's just part of life, and it's part of getting older. So it's a good way to keep him off his feet. Like I said, he'll still probably spend most of his time at first base, but it also gives Suarez a chance to play every day. And we really saw what he did at the end of last year. I think that's more indicative of a Eugenio Suarez. The last couple of years have certainly been tough. I think he figured some things out toward the end of the year, and I expect that version of a Eugenio Suarez to continue this season. So now you can use Moustakas at first base and Votto at first base, and when one of the others not there, they can DH. And if you want to give Suarez half a day off, you can play Moustakas at third base and DH Suarez. It just gives you so many more options if you're David Bell, and I think it keeps everybody fresh, and it keeps guys in the lineup that you want to have in the lineup on a daily basis. So you don't have to worry about, well, how am I going to find time for this guy? Now you know. Now you've got the options that allow you to do that, and I really think it's a great thing for the Reds. And sure, would I have been resistant against it? Would have I voted against it? Probably so, but I understand that really the game's better for having it set up the way it is now. And I admit that, and I accept that.
Tommy, you're too nice with having an opposite opinion to somebody. You know, it's sports radio. You're supposed to say you're an idiot. You have to think like me. If you don't think like me, you don't know anything. But Tommy, thank you so much, man. I've been waiting to reach out to you to have you on. I was just waiting for to finally have the green light of there actually being a baseball season, and there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's very green at this point. So there we go. But
no doubt,
pretty jacked about it. You're heading to spring training tomorrow, correct?
I will leave actually on Monday, so I will take off Monday. Actually, I'm looking at flights as we speak, so hopefully I have one of those booked and be out there soaking in some desert sunshine on some hikes here very soon.
Hey, selection Sundays on Sunday. Who's your basketball team? Who's your allegiance to? Who are you going to be looking for on Sunday?
Well, trust me, the team that has my allegiance in basketball is not going to be mentioned on Sunday. I could promise you that. They are not very good. They were a major disappointment, have been for a few years. That would be the Missouri Tigers. So I don't think I'll have to be watching for them. But Duke's really good. Obviously, a lot of people have high hopes for Gonzaga, and they're obviously, for good reason, getting a lot of attention. But the one thing about the basketball tournament this year, I think we are set up for one of the best NCAA tournaments that we have seen in a long, long time. And you better believe, just as much as I'll be watching spring training games, I will have an eye on that tournament as well.
All right. Well, here's the team. It's the Wright State Raiders. That's the team you're going to follow. All right. That's the team. I'm just going to.
I watched them the other night because they were on. Their tournament was on, so I checked them out. They're pretty good.
All right. That's your team. There you go. But hey, Tommy, thank you so much. I beyond appreciate it. Great hearing your voice, and I'm looking forward to the season starting here in the near future. So thank you and enjoy spring training.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Tommy Thrall, voice of the Cincinnati Reds, awesome enough to hang out with us here on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash when we come back.
Start your next project today at Menards and save 11% off everything. Put in those kitchen cabinets you've always wanted. Bring new life to your rooms with flooring and paint. Insulate your home and save on energy costs. Add stylish storage with shelving and save with 11% off everything now at Menards. Prices good through Saturday, March 12th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
Get help managing your money for the life and years ahead. With Fidelity Income Planning, we'll look at what you've saved, what you'll need, and build a straightforward plan to generate income, even when you're not working. A plan that gives you the chance to grow your savings and create cash flow that lasts. Plus, you can start, stop, or adjust your plan at any time without the unnecessary fees. Talk to us today so we can help you go from saving to living. Fidelity Brokerage Services, number NYSE SIPC.
How do you make the most of your land? If you ask the Wrens, who run with us on a John Deere mower, they tell you,
I mow first, then I do all the trimming.
But the Hubbards, who work behind the wheel of a John Deere compact tractor, would say,
if it's something you want, just go after it and try it.
Then there's the Mosers, who may mention from the seat of their John Deere Gator UTV.
You can't be all work and not play.
There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
O'Reilly. Improve visibility and save money at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Replace your old wiper blades with a new pair of Rain-X Advantage wiper blades and save $10 now at O'Reilly. Our professional parts people will even install them for free. See better and drive safer with new wiper blades from O'Reilly Auto Parts in store or online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet Jet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
Hi, it's Rick. I'm at the Smith home. Where's Donnie?
Leaves and autumn bookings pile up for Rick's gutter cleaning service.
He's out? Come on.
He needs help before his bottom line gets clogged.
Okay, well, what about Cristiano? We still got 6 houses today.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kinner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
I think if you are a Cincinnati Bengals fan, you are no, I'm just joking. Lots of rumors out there. And where there's smoke, there's fire. The Bengals are aggressive right now in conversations with a lot of teams regarding potential free agent offensive linemen to trade for, or some of the top free agent offensive linemen already available. Where there's smoke, there's fire. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that if you are a Bengals fan who are, you know, you're hoping that they address the offensive line, I think it would be silly if at this point. Like, my big thing is, like, we've heard a lot about the Bengals, you know, offensive line issues. The fact that, you know, everyone's like, well, of course, they have no choice but to fix it this year. Well, they should have fixed it last year. So every excuse you give as to why they should fix it this year, they had that same excuse last year and they didn't. But I do agree that they are they're less distracted this year. Last year, they had wide receivers and they had cornerbacks and they had offensive linemen and defensive linemen. They needed a kicker. They needed a lot. And I said that the biggest mistake that the Bengals made last year is I do not believe that they prioritized correctly. Just because, and again, when you are drafting, you are not drafting, Kev, for the immediate future as far as like next season alone. If you are a piece or two away, and you view it as, okay, if we just get this guy, we're going to be in a Super Bowl. And folks, I think that Jamar Chase was drafted with the hopes of getting to a Super Bowl, but I don't think that he was drafted with the idea that they were going to get to the Super Bowl in 2021. But they did, because they hit on a lot of draft picks. They did a good job. They stayed relatively healthy, and you need a little luck on these kind of runs. And that's, by the way, it's the same for the Chiefs and everyone else. Luck needs to be on your side. It's not a shot at the Bengals by saying that luck played a role in them getting there and winning and getting to the Super Bowl. The reality is, yes, luck played a role in it. Luck plays a role in everybody. We're about to head into the biggest luck draw tournament of the season in the NCAA tournament. Luck has everything to do with it. So let's just be real. Now, when you draft, you are drafting not just for the upcoming season, but for the long term. You are building. Draft picks have a lot of stock in them because it's not just a free agent that you're signing for next season to make an impact. You're hoping to draft guys that are going to be a part of your young core nucleus for at least 5-6 years to go. I mean, longer than that, but at the very least, I mean, the average NFL career lasts like 3 seasons.
Right.
That's not even a full rookie contract, just so you guys know. I mean, like, it's interesting. So that's what I mean by the Bengals last year. They had so many options and distractions of, flashy wide receiver over here. Kyle Pitts, a flashy tight end over here. Oh man, look at all the great, you got all these great defensive pieces over here that we can get. Like, you just had a lot of options when really the only option was protecting your quarterback. And I don't think they did a good job of that. I don't know if I've ever told you guys that or not, but they did it. They drafted a lot of great pieces, and they are set skill possession wise player for a while now. Now they just draft for depth when it comes to that. This year, it's a little bit easier to draft or target free agency if you're the Bengals, because you don't need a quarterback. It doesn't hurt to grab another wide receiver, but you're really set as far as your main guys are concerned with, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. You got your running game solid. I'm sure you could always add a complimentary back to go with Mixon, although we saw that, Perrin wasn't, P. Ryan wasn't terrible last year. I think you could upgrade there. But offensive line. Like, really, they're not going to be as distracted. You see what I mean by that? Yeah. Like, they had so many needs last year that I felt like they were just, I like that. I like that. I like that. Like when you buy a house and you're going to buy all new furniture, instead of saying, well, do we want to buy a bunch of random things to fill out, like to maybe get like one nice thing per room in the house? Or should we focus on the living room? Let's get a nice couch. Let's get a nice recliner. Let's get a good coffee table. Let's make sure our TV's mounted properly. Let's make sure we got some nice lamps that kind of match the decor of the room. Then we'll focus on the dining room. Then we'll focus on this. Or when you buy a house, we're going to get a nice couch, and we won't have anything to hang on the wall for a while, but hey, we'll at least make sure we get a nice cabinet for the dining room over here. And I saw this, I saw this end table I really like for the bedroom or whatever, or the, you know what I mean? Like that. Now you've started a bunch of projects. Now you have one nice newer thing in your room. You have one nice new thing in your dining room. You have a nice couch in your living room, but have you completed one of those rooms? Now you have all these rooms that have a couple nice things in each, but you haven't completed any of them. I'm using this analogy because that's what we found ourselves. That's the situation we found ourselves in. We've spent a lot of money on some new things, but we haven't been able to finish any of the rooms in the house because we get too excited. Ooh, that'll go good in the dining room. Let's get that. Oh man, that will go perfect. Let's get that nice rug for the living room. Instead of just saying, hey, before we get that, let's take all the money we have available that we've budgeted to upgrade the house, and let's just upgrade it one room at a time. That's what I wish we would have done, as opposed to the route. Because now I'm like, I really like that, but we need that to match that, and I'm OCD, and it's driving me crazy. That's how I kind of view building through the draft and building in free agency. Instead of saying, well, we need a cornerback, we need an offensive lineman, we need a safety, we need a linebacker, we need a punter, we need a kicker, we need this, we need that. Why don't you say, okay, let's prioritize the number one needs that we have as a team, and let's build our living room up as sturdy as possible. Let's make sure that, because that's where everyone's going to be and spending the most time when they come over, that type of thing. That's why the Bengals drove me crazy last year, Kev. It's because, well, they have a lot of needs. So they get a wide receiver. and then they get a defensive lineman, and then they get a kicker, and then they did this, and they got great guys. Like, guys, I'm being nice here, okay? They got great pieces.
He's trying to be nice.
They built the Bengals the way me and my fiance have built our house right now, as far as we've targeted just a bunch of rooms instead of just trying to fix each room up as we go. You know what I mean? So then when you come over, it looks like an incomplete project because we just have all the rooms aren't done yet. And so for me, if I can go back, I would have rather come in and say, okay, let's get our new couch, let's get our recliner, let's get our rug, let's get our coffee table, let's get everything set up in here. Then we'll move on to the dining room. Then we'll move on to the kitchen. Then we'll move on over here. So that's what I wish the Bengals would have done, is say, okay, let's make sure, because last year the free agent class of offensive linemen was way better. And the draft was way better. And you took the one guy you did take in the draft, you took a chance on, you took him way earlier than what he was graded. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, who am I to say that they were completely wrong, because they were in the Super Bowl? So I'm not going to take that away. All I'm saying is you don't draft Kev for next year. The Browns coming up. Do you draft a wide receiver because you need a wide receiver next year, or do you draft a wide receiver because you need one long term? You got to start thinking, is it easier to get a long-term pass rusher or a long-term wide receiver? There's wide receivers every year. It's tough to find a pass rusher. Think if you're the Browns, you can just say, we need a cheap pass rusher and a guy that could stop the run. We need, maybe we use that 13th pick for that, because we got to think long-term, what position is more necessary to get production at a cheaper cost than overpaying a position that we can get a receiver every year in free agency or the draft, even in a later round. That's how I view it. The Bengals, I wish they would have looked at that offensive line and said, we're going to draft an offensive lineman, then another one, and another one. What? Another one. What? Another one. And then, you know what I mean? Do it that way. There's no right or wrong way to do it. There's just the way that I prefer to do it. And the Bengals stressed me out. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman. We're going to get a cornerback. Now we're going to get a kicker. Now we're going to get Jackson Carman. Now we're going to get, and I'm like, oh my God, will you guys prioritize one damn position as you go? I love the way the Browns did theirs. They focused all on offense one year, all on defense the next. They're comfortable. Now they're just fixing holes that they have and trying to upgrade, as opposed to, trying to upgrade a bunch of random spots. So that's kind of how I view the draft coming up for really any sport at that.
So we know that the biggest hole with the Cincinnati Bengals is the offensive line. What do you think the biggest hole for the Cleveland Browns is? I thought,
so it sounds like everything coming out that they're not going to get Jadeveon Clowney.
Right.
Which I never really envisioned him coming back anyways, because for him to come back, the Browns, who already had limited cap space, although they've opened some up, they're most likely going to release Jarvis Landry, of course. And then they were able to rework some contracts and move things around on the offensive line, with Conklin and some of those guys, which was cool. So they're going to need somebody like Clowney. Clowney was really good against the run as well. Like, yes, he complemented what Myles Garrett did from a pass rush standpoint, but was very good against the run. That's now a big time need. They don't have depth in the defensive line anymore. I like their secondary. I think they're solid when they're healthy. Coramo, I like him. But I think that, the defensive line and wide receivers, that's their number one priority this upcoming offseason. That has to be their number one priority. But I also think that you cannot use all of your highest draft capital for wide receivers when you're a run team. And if you want to be a run team, you have to have a defense. The Titans had a chance. They were the 1 seed because they had a defense and the best run game in football. That's why they were the 1 seed. That's why they were as dominant as they were. Yes, you need receivers, and the Titans had that, but they also had a quarterback that couldn't get the best out of those guys. You have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, but you have a quarterback that brings them back. So, yes, they're really good, but they didn't elevate them. And it's hard to elevate quarterbacks. I don't think receivers elevate quarterbacks. I think it's always quarterbacks that elevate wide receivers. Is Baker going to elevate receivers? We're going to find out. I think the popular take on that is no. So for me, it's one of those, you need to get the guys that are going to win you football games. The run game is going to win you football games. The defense is going to win you football games. Once you get that figured out, which the run game settled, the O-line settled, get that D-line figured out, then worry about getting Baker a weapon or two. Because why are you going to go all out to get a Garrett Wilson or a Chris Olave? Why are you going to go all out and trade up to get this guy, the London kid from USC? Why are you going to give up a ton to go get an Amari Cooper if you get an amazing talent, you pay him a ton, you gave up draft picks to get him, you have an average quarterback who can't get him the ball, and now you can't stop the run or get any pressure on the opposing quarterback. Now you're running in place. Get that dominant pass rusher. Get that defense figured out. Complement it with that run game. And then if there's enough time, go get a wide receiver for Baker. But it's all about prioritizing the needs, not just, we need this, grab that. We need this, grab that. Prioritize the needs. That pass rusher, that run stopper, that needs to be the number one priority for the Browns heading into this draft.
I think they are going to go D-line, the Browns, that is, because they are a very analytics-based team. So I think they're going to be on your same wavelength and try to get a wide receiver in the second or third round. And hopefully they pop for them, because, I mean, people forget that T. Higgins was a second round draft pick. And obviously he had an outstanding season this year. So I wouldn't mind that. But, I mean, it's all about hitting. Are you going to hit? Are you going to get that guy? Because, you know, they gambled on guys last year. The speedster out of Auburn, he didn't pan out. He was hurt half the season, everything
Schwartz.
like that. Schwartz, he was running the quote unquote OPJ routes, and, you know, because he's a speed receiver, but he wasn't getting the ball. So it's a lot for the Browns to figure out. But yeah, I think they ultimately are going to go defensive line.
So it's interesting you say that, because Todd McShay released his latest mock draft. And we're not going to do that thing where we go down the whole list, because not a whole lot changed. I mean, some changed. And of course, you know, this kicked me out of my ESPN Plus account, so I don't have it in front of me, but they do have the Browns going the pass rusher out of Georgia, attacking it that way. Browns fans started losing their mind. We need a Garrett Wilson. We need this. Let me ask you, OBJ proved that there was a lot left in that tank, that everyone said he didn't have enough left in the tank. I was one of them. I do believe Baker played a role in holding him back. I think he played an even bigger role in holding himself back, because he's one of those that I'm only going to give it my all if I'm in a situation I like, which, let's be honest, I think that's just human nature more times than not. But the thing that, you know, you hold athletes to a higher standard than just us common folk, because that's what separates the great ones from the average ones. OBJ is not average, but I don't think he's elite either. I think he's in between. You know what I mean? He's just a very good wide receiver. I don't know, man. There's Amari Cooper. Those talks are picking up, and they're picking up heavily. Again, you have for the covering the Browns, Jake Trotter for ESPN. He reported earlier today in an article that said if the Browns could have landed Russell Wilson, Kev, or Aaron Rodgers, they probably would have.
Wow.
They probably would have. Browns fans losing their mind. And I'm like, why are you losing your mind at common sense? If this came out a year ago about the Bengals, I would say that the Bengals would be stupid not to go after a Russell Wilson or a Aaron Rodgers if you could. Now I wouldn't. Joe Burrow looks the part. Now the Bengals are one of those few teams in the league, like the Chargers and the Chiefs. They don't need to go after a quarterback. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're fine with who they have. The Browns should definitely every year explore the quarterback market until Baker proves that he could be a top 10 consistent quarterback, not a top 10 year and then a few down years and then have a great year. That's that Kirk Cousins trajectory. And we know how expensive that trajectory could be. So I get it. But Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, the Browns would have, if they could have landed one of those, they would have, according to Jake Trotter. Covers the Browns for ESPN. But he says, according to multiple sources, that General Manager Andrew Berry continues to indicate that he doesn't view any of the other quarterbacks who could be had via trade or free agency as worthwhile upgrades over Mayfield. They've come out. They said they're committed to Mayfield. He is their starter. And Andrew Berry has been very adamant. Any questions thrown his way about Baker, he's like, he's our guy. He's our starting quarterback. We've won a lot of games with him.
He's our man.
If we can't have him, well, will anyone? No, I mean, but no, in all seriousness, he's come out and basically defended Baker, saying, I think we're forgetting what all he's done for this franchise since coming over. It's easy to focus on all the bad, but there was a lot of bad before he got there, and there's been way more good than bad since he's got here. Again, that's that low standard that the Browns have always been accused of having. Should you have a higher standard? Absolutely. But I also don't think that Bengals fans are in position to talk to Browns fans about standards as far as I'm concerned. Yes, you have a great roster right now, and yes, things are going well, but as I've seen and learned in the NFL, can you sustain it? There's been teams that have shown glimpses of, oh man, they look like they're on that trajectory of being a good team for a while, and then they don't know how to handle success. What are the Bengals doing what are they doing in their off time right now? Are they still as aggressive in preparing for next season as what they were a year ago at this time and heading into the spring and summer? Like that's, you know what I mean? That Super Bowl hangover, that's where that comes from. That, oh man, we don't have to work as hard. Oh man, like we arrived last year. Now we don't have to work as hard. There's a reason that happens. And it's not just football, it's all sports. Every team that makes it to the finals or a championship series or game, they take their foot off the gas a little that offseason because they think they don't have to work as hard to get to that point, that they just got to maintain it. And sometimes you got to work even harder to maintain it than to get to that point. So we're going to learn a lot about who they are. But the quarterbacks that they're alluding to, Kev, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Mitchell Trubisky. Mm-hmm. Those are the quarterbacks that Andrew Berry has said, those are not upgrades. And I agree 1,000,000%. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. If the Browns got him, I'll be a little annoyed because I don't think it's time to quit on Baker yet. But I am totally fine with keeping Baker over Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Garoppolo's the best of those available. Kirk Cousins might be more skilled, throw for a lot more yards, could probably take you on more scoring drives, but he disappears all the time. He can't win with Adam Thielen. He can't win with Justin Jefferson. He can't win with Dalvin Cook. And now you want to bring him to Cleveland, where you don't even have Jarvis, most likely. You don't know if you have Amari Cooper, and Schwartz and Donovan Peoples-Jones might be your best two weapons as far as wide receivers are concerned. That can't happen. And bring Cousins over. Baker's fine. Baker's the guy. And I like to hear this out of Cleveland. And I have no problem with them saying, yeah, if we could end up getting Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, of course we'd pull the trigger on that. Desean Watson was brought up. Desean Watson conceivably could be the one wild card. And a grand jury, Kev, is going to hear evidence today in the case involving Watson, who faces allegations ranging from harassment and inappropriate behavior to sexual assault during massage sessions over the years. A decision on criminal charges could come as early as today. And the last I've checked, I don't think anything's come out about that. But that does play an interesting role in the direction that the Browns and other teams who need a quarterback can go. Now, I'm uncomfortable talking about this because I'm not a big fan of basically just brushing off the severity of what these charges could potentially be. And just because charges don't necessarily come down doesn't mean that the inappropriate behavior that he was involved in didn't actually happen. It could just mean that you pled down. It could just mean that you settled out of court. It could be a lot of things. Doesn't necessarily mean that these inappropriate behaviors didn't actually happen. Would it be worth it going that route of bringing that kind of attention to a franchise that already is viewed as dysfunctional to begin with, like Cleveland? So I'm really curious to see, because they're locked in on Baker Mayfield. They said they would move on from him if they can get a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers. I think Desean Watson, as Jake Trotter alluded to in this article, a definite wild card, because I think a lot of it's going to come down to the decision that is made today as far as the future of Desean Watson's concerned. I still think that if you're Cleveland, you keep Baker Mayfield. I'm not comfortable talking about Desean Watson as just a player because there's a lot of stuff going on off the field. But let's say that he's cleared. Nothing happened. It's all fabricated, whatever. If you're Cleveland, I think you do find a way to get it done. I think you have to find a way to get it done. I think the Steelers could potentially be in on that conversation, but they might say, hey, even though he was found not guilty of anything, we might want to clear way of that mess as a franchise that's been known to kind of keep their head out of those kind of conversations. So it'll be interesting. This Desean Watson thing is the last Hail Mary, if you will, as far as what we could see the Browns attempt to do to upgrade a quarterback. But how much would they have to get up to get him? 2 1s, 2 2s, a 5, and some players is what got Russell Wilson. Is Desean Watson cut of that same ilk? I mean, he's not a Super Bowl winner, he's now won an MVP. I don't know. Just as talented, was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL till Patrick Mahomes. What do you do if you're the Browns, let's say, and that his name is cleared when all this is said and done?
Man, first thing I want to say about this whole Desean Watson situation is not only is Desean, but his attorneys, they have been super eager to get up and tell their side of the story. And some of the other things that they wanted out there is the accusers to speak as well. So that's one. So take that however you want. As far as he's concerned, as a football player, you can't leave these allegations out. You know what I'm saying? You just can't. This is a part of his football career going forward. And if he's going to be playing for your team, you're going to have to give up a ton to get him, because he's super talented. He's a super talented quarterback. And I think he's a franchise changing quarterback, especially when you put those pieces around him and everything like that. But you also have to put out the fact that, like, all right, let's just say this case gets cleared up. The NFL can still levy punishment. So we don't know what the NFL would do with their punishment. They could say 5 games, 6 games, no games. An entire year you're suspended. So that would be him being suspended for 2 years. You're willing to give up multiple first-round picks over multiple years for a quarterback that you won't get a chance to play for at least a year, potentially? That means he's been sitting out 2 years. What is he going to be like when he gets back on the field? Is he still going to be that electrifying player? Is he still going to be have that accuracy? Is he still going to be have those wheels? Is he still going to be as smart, as quick, and all those type of things? That's a lot that every team out there is going to have to juggle it with and realize before they pull the trigger on trading for him. Because I do believe somebody's going to do it. It wouldn't blow my mind that by Monday morning he's traded. Obviously, if all this stuff is cleared up today, like, it wouldn't blow my mind at all. It wouldn't blow my mind. Sunday morning, we wake up, watching Sports Center, chilling on the couch. Breaking news in the Sports Center: Desean Watson has been traded for 21st round picks to the blah, 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 blah.
And a team, because remember, like, news dumps, like Friday afternoon's a good time to do it. Selection Sunday is a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Because whatever team takes him on, it doesn't matter if he's found cleared of this or not. There will be negative stories and negative attention brought with Desean Watson, no matter who acquires him.
Right.
So if a team really wants him and they're willing to take on the noise, And we've seen teams do this all the time.
Yeah.
The Browns took on Kareem Hunt knowing that they were going to get a lot of heat for the situation he was involved in. Bengals fans who love Joe Mixon, they seem to forget about that nice little video that, shows exactly what he did to a woman, and people compartmentalize and they forget about it. They move on. They got a lot of heat the night that they drafted Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon would have been the first running back drafted that night, and not Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette was the first running back drafted that year by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Joe Mixon was a better back and would have been the number one running back drafted that year had he not had those off-the-field situations. The Bengals got a top running back in the draft in the second round because of where he fell, because of the noise. If a team is willing to absorb the noise, they're going to want to get a deal done on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or next week at some point during the NCAA tournament. There's so many eyes, ears, and voices will be glued to the NCAA tournament that it'll kind of water down the reaction a bit. So I think a deal gets done as early as next week. Maybe not with the Browns, but just in general with somebody. Next week's a good week to do it if you want to try to, kind of derail the negative crap storm that'll come your way if you trade for him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as far as that's concerned. But who knows? 518-1410. What about your Steelers, Kev? I mean, what about where are they at right now as far as how they're looking to address the quarterback situation? Is it Malik Willis? Are they just going to settle for that because there's been no really talks of Garoppolo, who now all of a sudden the Colts, they find themselves in a situation after obviously Carson Wentz, they moved on from him and now he's officially with the Commanders now in Washington. What happens there?
I think they're ultimately going to end up drafting a rookie quarterback because the quote unquote guys that they were been attached to all this time, they're all scooped up. They were attached to Aaron Rodgers, earlier in the season, him and Coach T had that sideline conversation and the wink and everything like that. And like, man, he's going to the Steelers. He winked at Coach T. Didn't happen. They were attached to Russell Wilson. That didn't happen. Jimmy G, he's having shoulder surgery. That's not happening. They were attached to Carson Wentz for like a day or two. That's not happening. So for my money, I would imagine that it's going to be either Malik Willis or the kid out of Pitt. Like one of those guys are probably going to end up getting drafted because I can't imagine that they're going to go into next season with Dwayne Haskins and Mason Rudolph, and that's it at the quarterback position. You got to add somebody to that mix. You got to add somebody that's talented. You know what I'm saying? You can't be adding basically the same guy to the room. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I think that ultimately another guy that they were attached to, Mr. Trubisky, I think he's ultimately going to sign with the Giants and go ahead and take that job from Daniel Jones. His OC from Buffalo is their head coach. He knows the offense, obviously better than Daniel Jones because he was running it all season with Buffalo as the backup, but he's going to have an opportunity to sign there and compete for the starting job. So I think that's where Mitchell Trubisky's going to be going. So I don't think there's any other quarterbacks out there that the Steelers can sign in free agency. So I think they're going to have to go the rookie route.
518-1410, 518-1410. Browns fans, AFC North fans, Bengals fans, we'll get to you in a moment. A lot of reports out there of who the Bengals could potentially target in free agency as that's coming up just around the corner. The Jesse Bates thing, obviously they franchised him, so that's at least put off for now, or at least has extended their opportunity to get a long-term deal done, although I don't think that they will get a long-term deal done. But we'll get to all of that. 518-1410, that's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. Shout out to the voice of the Reds, Tommy Thrall. You just heard him on the show about a half hour ago. You're going to hear a lot of him on 1410 Wing AM throughout the season, of course, as we're Dayton's home of the Reds, and Reds baseball coming April 7th, opening day for baseball, the new opening day. The Reds opening up on the road against the Braves, and their first home game, their first home series, Kev, will be against your Cleveland Guardians now. And
yes,
so
sir.
the home opener for the Reds will be on April 12th. We got a boatload of Reds tickets. We're going to be making sure we're hooking you guys up all season long, making sure that we do our part in helping you support the Cincinnati Reds at Great American Ballpark. More of the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with rain, a high near 45. Tonight's going to be cloudy with rain and snow, a low near 18. And tomorrow's going to be mostly cloudy with a chance of snow, a high near 25. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
KTH Parts Industries has immediate openings for second shift production associates and equipment technicians. KTH promotes within, offers an attractive benefit package, including medical, dental, 401k, attendance bonus, and a competitive wage, starting at $19 per hour with annual increases and shift differential. KTH will be hosting walk-in interviews Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. through 3 p.m. Please bring a resume and photo ID to apply or see other career opportunities at kth.net. KTH is an equal opportunity employer.
We're out of the brand name, but we do have the generic version of
Serene's Pharmacy can't keep up with allergy season.
Who's next in line?
They need certified technicians to alleviate the headache.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry for the wait. We'll have your prescription filled soon. I need some help.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, body shop manager at Germain Honda Beaver Creek. Our technicians have over 125 years of total experience. That means we can repair your vehicle correctly and efficiently. So when you need a dependable body shop, we're here. And we repair all makes and models with new state-of-the-art equipment to get you back on the road quickly. Plus, we offer loaner cars during service and free estimates. Stop by and see us. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, State Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Spending more time at home? There has never been a better time to invest in your home. There is nothing better than a home theater or high-fidelity music system from Audio Etc. Can't watch your favorite basketball team in person? No problem. Audio Etc. can bring any game home. It's better than being there. You have to see it to believe the incredible quality of the picture and sound. 4K is amazing, but just imagine the 8K experience. Come to Audio Etc. today and experience 8K TVs and projectors. Surround sound? You haven't heard surround sound till you hear Dolby Atmos 360 degrees. It puts you smack dab in the middle with 11.2 channel surround sound. Audio Etc. has the brands, the deals, and the excitement. Audio Etc. powered by Klipsch, Bowers & Wilkins, SVS, Marantz, Denon, Sony, and a whole list of high-performance brands that you've probably never heard of. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom.
Lance Roofing and Siding would like to remind you, daylight saving time begins this Saturday night at 2 a.m. It's time to spring forward an hour. A friendly reminder from your friends at Lance Roofing and Siding. Call for a free estimate on your roof before spring showers hit. Online at lanceroofing.com.
Are you at a dead end when it comes to dealing with that awful joint pain? So was Rick Rawlings.
I did 1.5 years of steroidal injections in my shoulder, both shoulders. They weren't helping at all, and it was just a Band-Aid.
As for the constant pain medication prescriptions,
I didn't get any relief. I didn't get any sleep, so I just stopped taking them. I didn't want to get hooked on drugs.
But one day,
I heard a commercial on the radio about QC Kinetics.
Rick called QC Kinetics and learned all about natural biologic therapies, non-surgical treatments that actually help the body restore damaged joint tissue. And it was life-changing.
After doing the QC Kinetics, I feel like I have a new life again. Today, my shoulders feel wonderful. My only regret was I wish I had done it sooner.
From dead ends to new beginnings. Call today and learn about QC Kinetics' long-lasting relief.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Dell's semi-annual sale is the perfect opportunity for a significant business upgrade. Save up to 45% on Dell computers with Windows 11 Pro and get an easy start to your workday. Plus, enjoy special pricing on Dell docks, monitors, servers, and more, all with easy financing options through Dell Financial Services. Speak to a Dell Technologies advisor today to find the right tech for your business with fast free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
70% of the Fortune 100 choose Zoom. With phone, chat, workspaces, apps, events, and video in a single platform, Zoom powers all your communications. Large enterprises, small businesses, and individuals use the secure Zoom platform to enable new ways of working, learning, hosting events, and supporting their customers. And now you can save 15% on meetings, chat, and phone with the Zoom United bundle. Visit zoom.com/bundle. Zoom, how the world connects.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more.
All right, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, give Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty a call today, 937-572-7425. Again, one more time for those watching live on Facebook and YouTube, you see the graphic there, 937-572-7425. Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty again, as the weather is starting to warm up. And again, I know the irony of me saying that as it is just coming down with, heavy snow out there right now. But, we always get those, though, Kev. We always get that final little snow fluff, if you will, and we might have one or two more, who knows, but I don't mind it. It is what it is. I looked at the forecast next week. I mean, it's almost like we're going to be in Florida next week or something, like Orlando to be specific, but just saying. But it's warming up. But so I came across this article that really it's fascinated me a bit. This isn't what I had intended on transitioning to at this moment, but massive news in the broadcasting world. Joe Buck is expected to leave Fox to become the new voice of ESPN's Monday Night Football alongside Troy Aikman. Andrew Marchand again reports this out of New York, and there's been a huge shakeup as far as the media booth, the play-by-play, the broadcasting booth is concerned for these football games, and there's so much money invested. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit, it was at Amazon with Thursday night. Amazon they were going hard after Aikman. They were going hard after Al Michaels, and I'm not sure they don't have Al Michaels, right? Me and you were talking about that during the break. I don't think Al Michaels has a home right now, right?
Let's find out.
So, and I'm sure he does. It's just a matter. It's not where. It's not if. It's where. I mean, it's just he's waiting to probably pick. I'm assuming. I thought that, but Kirk Herbstreit is now going to be doing Thursday Night Football for Amazon for the NFL. Now, I was bummed about that. I was happy for him, but then find out that does not impact his status with ESPN. Here's what I also love. I love the cross-branding support that is starting to kind of happen a little bit. It used to be your ESPN only. Yeah. It used to be your Fox only. I do kind of like the collaborative efforts that some of these media powers have been able to be willing to do. For instance, as you know, that Skip Bayless, when his contract was up with Fox not too long ago, I think it was last summer, and everyone knew that that Stephen A. and Max Kellerman, they split up First Take, or at least had taken Max Kellerman to put him on the morning radio show with Keyshawn and Jay Will. That ESPN was going after Skip Bayless and going after him hard. They wanted to repair the two of Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. Well, obviously, Fox gives their talent a little bit more control of their brand. Yeah. For instance, when you work for ESPN, you are under the ESPN umbrella. You are an ESPN employee. Colin Cowherd, and I just found this out within the last year or two, and same thing with Skip Bayless and these guys, they are not Fox Sports employees. They are not. They are independent. They're kind of independent contractors to a certain extent. Colin Cowherd for radio goes through Premiere. That's really nothing that you guys really care to hear. But like Colin Cowherd is not a Fox Sports radio show. He is, the Breakfast Club that we have on your station, Hot 102.9 in the mornings. That's not a Hot 102.9 show. That is a Premiere show. Same network that Colin Cowherd's show is pumped through on radio and that type of deal. Anything you hear on ESPN comes from the ESPN affiliate, from the ESPN network. Colin is not coming from the Fox network. Skip and Shannon in the morning, that is their own. They have their own, like their studio is separate from the studio that you see some of the other shows that come through on Fox. It's kind of interesting. I've loved seeing how the sports media landscape has changed over the years. So ESPN really wanted Skip Bayless. Skip wanted to stay with Fox because he has more control of his brand. For instance, he's able to come up with his own branding items and make money off of that himself. There's no middleman. With ESPN, Colin Cowherd wanted to be able to do his own podcast network, and the volume is what it is now. Took years to build. He finally has it out. ESPN was not going to allow him to create his own podcast network because they have their own podcast network. It's a conflict of interest. This is why Fox has been able to combat with ESPN over the last 5-6 years or so. That's why they've been able to get big names like Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, and they've been able to get those guys to kind of jump ship and head over there. Colin being the big one that they got. Did you know, this is one of my favorite stories because it shows how these mega sports media outlets are now willing to kind of coexist now, and they're not at each other's throats as much. ESPN and Fox almost worked out a deal, Kev, that Skip Bayless was going to get to do get to do an ESPN Plus digital show with Stephen A. Smith, all while being able to do his morning show because he didn't want to leave the show with Shannon Sharp. So I thought that was interesting that you could have watched Skip Bayless on the ESPN platform all while he still had his morning Undisputed show with Shannon Sharp. So that's where you're starting to see a little of that cross collaborations. So Kirk Herbstreit will do Thursday Night Football with Amazon and still be able to keep doing his ESPN duties with college football, college game day on Saturdays and on the weekend. I think that's huge. That's great for ESPN. That's great for Amazon. And most importantly, that's good for us. He's Dayton zone, of course, Centerville zone, which is really cool. But like, I find him, he's fantastic. Him and Fowler, I could listen to them. I love that whole game day crew. And I love the way that those two call big games. I mean, we've watched so many big college football games with them calling it. So I like that. So with this, Joe Buck is expected to leave Fox to become the new voice of ESPN's Monday Night Football alongside Troy Aikman. That's huge. That's huge. Or is it? Because the big question I have is, I find this fascinating. I think it's interesting. It's kind of cool to hear Troy Aikman call a game on ESPN. Same thing with Joe Buck. But is that why you watch? And I don't know how to answer this. I'm kind of asking you, the listeners, 518-1410, by the way. Tony Romo got that 18 or 15 or 16. It was between 15 and 18 million or whatever it was to be to work for CBS. I don't know what he got paid that first year, but like he was so damn good that first year that everyone was just mesmerized by the way he was basically a fan calling a game. You could hear the excitement in his voice, and it was weird. He'd giggle during games, but that was him. It was organic. It wasn't him trying to pretend to be this stiff broadcaster. He was just being himself, a former NFL quarterback calling the game from his perception, from his view, and his experience playing the game. That's why it worked. But they clearly see the metrics. Clearly, it's leading to ratings. But the thing is, I always wonder, is that why I tune into a game? Do I watch a game on CBS because Tony Romo's calling the game? Not really. I watch the game on CBS because my team's playing on CBS if they are. Bengals fans, a lot of your games are there too. You're watching it, whether it's on Fox or on CBS, whether it's ESPN, Monday Night Football, Sunday, Thursday Night Football. It don't matter. You're watching it no matter where they are. So my big thing is, are these networks overpaying these guys to do this? Is Joe Buck and Troy Aikman? I mean, is that a little over the top? I mean, they're getting paid. Troy Aikman, I think, is at that 18 mil range. 18 mil a year.
Speaking as a broadcaster, no, they're not paying them enough.
Yeah, I mean, they're not making Kevin Kinner money. Let's just be real. But 518-1410, when you tune into a game, my view is always this. I could tune into a game not to watch or listen to the actual broadcaster on TV. However, a bad one can make me tune out. I've tuned into games, and I love Booger McFarland, by the way. Booger McFarland is an excellent analyst. I find him very entertaining on these network shows, like on these on the studio shows. when he is on those shows as an analyst, whether it's First Take or Get Up or others, I find Booger McFarland very interesting. I think he's very good at his job. I don't think it's a hot take to say he was not good in Monday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different skill set that's not the same. Providing analyst opinions and views on a show like First Take or Get Up, it's a lot different than having to give. You think it's very similar to doing, being doing color commentary for Monday Night Football. It's not the same.
Right.
It's not. It's a different rhythm. It's a different pattern. It's a lot of different things. So I tuned out of games because of Booger McFarland, even though I loved watching him on those morning shows and those other network shows. So a good broadcaster, you're watching a game, and the broadcasters are good if they're not making you tune out. But I don't know if I'm tuning in for the broadcaster, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. Because think about it like this. CBS has their game of the week, and they put their number one guys on that game.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we are watching the game is because it's the most compelling matchup. That's why we're watching the game. And then having good broadcasters, the best broadcasting team on there helps. Just like you said, if a bad broadcaster is on there and he's just not entertaining and everything like that, you can kind of tune him out. But the main reason you're there is to watch the game. That's why we're tuning in. But having the lead guys and everything like that, it helps a ton. I mean, these guys are brand names. You talk about the Joe Bucks. I mean, he's been around forever. Obviously, his connections with his father, being a broadcaster as well. Then you have a guy like Troy Aikman, a Super Bowl winner, he's been a broadcaster longer than he was an NFL player. You know what I'm saying? So, like, now we got that. You have another guy that played with the Dallas Cowboys, which Tony Romo, and now he's stepping into it. And, I mean, you coming from the Dallas Cowboys, it's a recognizable guy and then doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't hurt that these guys are quarterbacks. Like, quarterback is always the guy. They always got Monday Night Football before, for like, with the 2 years, they had Brian Greasy on there. You always got to have that quarterback. The quarterback is a quarterback league. So having that quarterback opinion, people love the way that Tony Romo was guessing the plays before they even happened and everything like that. Like, oh man, like he's Miss Cleo or something like that. Like, people fell in love with that.
Hold up. Did you just drop a Miss Cleo reference?
Call me now.
Who the fun of the baby? I can't believe you. I'm picturing the commercial. I could see the 1-800 number at the bottom, right? It's the one number you can call and not get in trouble for as a kid, right? Like, but you just dropped a Miss Cleo reference. Good for you. You aged yourself, by the way, and me, because the fact that I know what you're talking about, that's pretty interesting.
And they have a documentary coming out about that?
That was all a scam, right?
Yeah, like she worked for a network that's what they did. Like, you call Miss Cleo, and it's like basically a recording of Miss Cleo, not like actually Miss Cleo picking up the phone.
Sean says, Miss Cleo, love it.
Call me now. I loved it, man. Did you ever call Miss Cleo?
I did not call Miss Cleo.
Terrified. I was terrified what my mom would do if she saw that bill.
Hey.
I threw you off.
What were we talking about? Now, if Miss Cleo called a Monday Night Football game, I would tune in. So,
game changer.
Guess the next play. I don't know why I just sounded like, hooray, beer, but I don't know why I just turned into that all of a sudden. My accent game is so bad, but, So Brian Staley, Kev, says, broadcasters make or break baseball for me. Football is good no matter what. So I think the general consensus here is Dylan Shaver says Joe Buck almost makes the World Series unwatchable.
Really?
He also says that I don't watch. Okay, kind of like what we're talking about. I don't watch the game because of an announcer, but I won't watch a game if there's a certain announcer calling it. I can't stand Joe Buck. And I hear that a lot. Like my close group of friends that we watch football every week together, Chris Collinsworth, it's like nails on the chalkboard to them. And I don't really have an opinion. I don't know. There's really not a broadcaster that I'm like, I can't watch if that person's calling it. But I do know that there are certain voices that really make me enjoy. I could listen to Al Michaels call a game. On TNT, the NBA, when he retires, gosh dang it. Who's the broadcaster for TNT for Thursday, for the NBA? Marv Albert. If Marv Albert is calling a game, that voice it penetrates through, that voice anywhere. And no matter what, whether it's college basketball, whether it's baseball, whether it's anything, his voice, man, like I could listen to him. I can't watch a game on Thursday night on for the NBA on TNT if it's not him calling the game. Like that voice is just, it's awesome, man. It's the same thing, we had Tommy Thrall on a little bit ago. I'm not going to lie. Him and I have had this discussion. When Marty retired, I was adamant, I'm going to hate whoever replaces Marty because it's not Marty. Tommy does a very good job because Tommy did not come in trying to be Marty. I thought the worst thing that Tommy could have done is to come in to try to be Marty Brennaman. And we know the reason Tommy Thrall works in Cincinnati is because not 1 second on the job for him as he tried to be Marty Brennaman. In fact, every time you talk to him, I remember the first time we had him on, Schlemmer and I were doing the show from the Hall of Fame, the Reds Hall of Fame. You were there too with us. And, I said, how stressful is it? What's the pressure like of replacing Marty Brennaman? And he just stopped me. He goes, I'm going to stop you there. He goes, I'm not replacing Marty Brennaman. He goes, you don't replace Marty Brennaman. He goes, if you try to replace Marty Brennaman with the Marty Brennaman wannabe, he goes, I would have been fired the first day I was on the job. So I've always respected that take of his. But man, I think there are a lot of broadcast. I think radio play-by-play radio voices are a lot different than TV. I tune in to watch my team. If I'm watching Ohio State, whether it's Gus Johnson or Kirk Herbstreit calling the game, from that aspect of it, you know what I mean. I'm watching it no matter what. Yeah. I prefer it on ESPN, but I don't like Fox. I think the games on Fox don't look as good. I don't know why. I don't like the games on Fox, but I love their Joe Clatton and those guys. They're amazing. But I prefer it on ESPN just for the way it looks. But the sound, I don't think there's ever a time where I've said, I can't watch this game because of this broadcaster. People love to hate on Joe Buck. People love to hate on Collinsworth. And people love to hate on Tom Brennaman. Now, Tom Brennaman, stop. This isn't about what happened that night with the hot mic, okay?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't pointing at that. Sorry. I'm not bringing up Tom because of what happened on the hot mic that night. But like Tom Brennaman before that night, I always loved Tom. Tom was a great guest. Tom always was super awesome to us. And that's all I'm selfish. And that's all I care about. Right. But I never understood why so many people disliked Tom Brennaman. The people that couldn't stand Marty. I'm like, how could you not like Marty Brennaman? I've never had a strong opinion on announcers or broadcasters. I just haven't. So that always fascinates me that people can let an announcer impact how you watch a game, but I work in a business that it's my job to get you to tune in, and I do a good job of getting you guys to tune out. So I get it. I should understand it. But is there a guy that you can't watch a game if they're calling it?
I don't think so.
I feel like I'm missing an obvious one.
I think I am too.
Like an obvious one. Like I feel like that's not true. I feel like I have bitched about somebody before. Chris Webber gets a lot of heat. He doesn't bother me. I don't think he's great, but he doesn't bother me. But my philosophy on this has always been, I don't need Chris Webber to come in to be a polished announcer. I need Chris Webber to be there to be Chris Webber.
Right.
I think that's why Tony Romo works so well, is because Tony Romo is not supposed to sound like a boring, well, you see, what I'm seeing is if you look here at the top of the screen and you look at this, like that's boring, that's stiff, that's dry, that's boring. I can't stand that. I don't need Tony Romo to be this polished broadcaster. I just need him to be Tony Romo. Those are the guys like Charles Barkley. I know he doesn't do play-by-play or he's not a color commentator, although he is during March Madness. But see, he's not good there, but he tells you why. They don't have enough time to study all 68 teams. They're NBA guys. But like, I don't need those guys to be buttoned up and polished. I need them to be themselves. That's why you paid them all that money. Troy Aikman's being brought in to be Troy Aikman, not to be this stiff, boring announcer. We'll see what ends up happening with it.
I'm trying to I know it's somebody. I can't think of his name. I think he normally calls college basketball games. When I hear him, I just cringe. I'm not sure if it's his voice or it's mainly college sports where it's some broadcasters that I don't like because, in college, we've fallen over the coaches so much and everything like that. And it just sometimes it just gets annoying. So I'm not sure if it's people's voices that annoy people. So I would like to hear from people. What is it about Joe Buck that people aren't feeling?
Yeah, because I'm seeing a lot of Joe Buck hate in this comment section.
What is it? What am I missing?
No explanations.
What is it about Collinsworth that your friends don't like?
Well, for one, so these are like, okay, they at least provide tangible reasons. Patrick Mahomes can throw a sidearm pass. Incomplete, but he'll say things like, man, I tell you, there are not a lot of quarterbacks that could make that throw right there. It could be 10 yards over the dude's head, and he's sitting there just, and then you'll have some other quarterback throw a 40-yard bomb, and then he'll just be like, what a nice throw. But a 10-yard overthrow sidearm by Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, and man, I tell you, I mean, it's not the best impersonation, but you know how he draws it out. But no, I think he's good. And I think that if you think about it, think about all the announcers that people hate on the most. You notice they're the most successful, though?
Right.
You know how everyone says Stephen A. and Skip Bayless are the two worst things that have ever happened to sports media? You realize that they're two of the highest paid and the two best at what they do because they're doing their job. Like, that's the thing that these industry folks get and that you guys don't. By you having an opinion on an announcer, like right now I'm asking people, who's an announcer that you have an opinion on? That's how these industry folks kind of look into it, Kev. Oh, you know who that is? Oh, you know who that is? Oh, man, I hate Joe Buck. Oh, but you know who Joe Buck is. But you know how many Fox broadcasters we have that you don't know who that is? All right. That's why Joe Buck works. That's why Chris Collinsworth works. That's why Tom Brenneman, despite all of you thinking that he was horrible, there's a reason that he was getting a lot of those big Sunday NFL games on Fox with Troy Aikman and company, because you had an opinion of him. You know, for everyone out there, you know, like that's what's amazing is these industry folks, they don't need you to like them. They need you to know who they are and to tune in and have an opinion on them. And that's what I've said. I was like, hey, I don't need you to like me. I just need you to tune in. All right. People say, man, I can't stand you. I hate your show. But then they'll tell me about the 55 things I've said in the first hour and a half that they couldn't stand. Like, keep it going. It's fine. You don't have to like me. Just keep listening. Because when people don't know who you are, that's 10 times worse than them having a bad opinion about you. And that's how this industry works. But that's what was fascinating. Joe Buck, can't stand him. Well, how much did ESPN just pay him? Chris Collinsworth, can't stand him. He gets paid an awful lot of money to do what he does. Oh, man, I cannot stand Skip Bayless. Well, you know what? He's actually the best at what he does, as well as Stephen A. Smith. Screaming A. Smith. That's fine. Scream louder. It's getting you paid. I just don't get people, man. It fascinates me.
Man, Beth Mullins. That's who I don't like, because she normally gets those noon kick games like that come on in like November 1st. Like what? You get a TCU and a Texas Tech at noon, and it's a sleepy game and it's so boring, but I'm a college football fan, so I'll watch anyway. Those games are torture, and I don't like her calls either. I just don't. It's just weird to listen to her do a call about a game. Beth Mowins. Is
Beth
that her
Mowins?
name?
Yeah, okay. I don't like Jessica Mendoza. Now, Schlemmer is probably standing up giving me a round of applause right now. I don't like Jessica Mendoza on Sunday Night Baseball. Now, not for reasons that most would say they don't like her on there. I don't. I mean, good for her. She is carved her way through a male-dominated profession, okay? So this isn't a sexist conversation. The problem I have is we get to a point in society where, you know, like when racial tensions are high, if you say something bad about a person, people right away, it's like, oh, why? Because you're talking about this race? No, it's because I just don't think that person's good at their job. Jessica Mendoza, I don't really like listening to her on Sunday Night Baseball. Oh, why? Because she's a woman? Like, that's usually what you get combated with. I don't like that. That drives me nuts. You know, if I say I don't like Joe Buck, no one says, oh, yeah, because he's white. No, because Joe Buck is fill in the blank and list why you don't like him. That's what drives me nuts. People are afraid to say they don't like a certain broadcaster when really, hey, if I say I don't like Jessica Mendoza, I'm treating her the way I treat any broadcaster out there. I have an opinion on you one way or another, whether I like listening to you or not. But that's a prime example right there. She's not on Sunday Night Baseball anymore. They've kind of changed that up a little bit, but no, like that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to that. But no, the Joe Bucks of the world, if people say, man, he's the worst out there, ESPN would not have brought him in if he was the worst. They would not have paid what they did for him. I mean, God, they're paying close to $40 million a year. Whew. I mean, let's just say $30 million a year. They are spending $30 million a year, Kev, for Aikman and these guys. Like, that's crazy. For the broadcasting crew alone. That doesn't include the cameramen, the graphics, the folks that work the graphics, the board operators, the guys in the truck, the setup crew. It's amazing. That's how much money comes in.
Add Bill Walton to my list.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, I know, like, he's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer, top 75, all that great stuff. But, like, man, like, you could tell the play-by-play guys get annoyed with him. Like, he's great in a close game in the last, 2 minutes of the game. But, like, minute 1 to 58, he's talking about anything underneath the sun. He's not talking about the game at all. So, yeah, Bill Walton, add him to my list that I just will turn off if he's on.
So John Coy, we're live on Facebook, by the way. If you want to jump in, we're going to take your calls. I know we have a couple guys on hold. We'll get to you in a second. I know who the one caller is, so you're good. You don't have to check it. But John Coy, shout out to John. I hope you're doing well. He says Gary Danielson is horrible on CBS. Who's Gary Danielson?
SEC games. Yeah, I know he's talking about.
Okay.
I know exactly who he's talking about.
He says, I turn the sound off when he is doing the Alabama games. Okay, that's fair. That's a good one. So Nolan Russell says, I'll turn down Mike Tirico. Nolan Russell, I will not put up with your Mike Tirico slander on this show. I love Mike Tirico.
Not a big Mike T fan either.
In regards to like what, football?
Football. Like, just not a fan.
His last year with ESPN, I remember, this would be the last time. No, Wright State was in the Horizon League title game. it was the last year that Billy Donlin was here because it was Mike Tirico and Dan Dockich. That's another dude. Dan Dockich gets ripped a ton back when he was with ESPN doing college basketball games because he did. He made it a lot about him. But you know what? It was almost like the Dan Dockich show within a broadcast. That's what I always found amazing. He would, Dan Dockich is interesting. But,
NFL is king. NFL is king. Adam Schefter. This is why Desean Watson from the beginning wanted to welcome a police investigation. He felt that if he would speak, the truth would come out. Today, the grand jury will not charge him on any of the criminal allegations.
All right, Browns, let's go, baby. This guy. Forget Baker Mayfield. Baker sucks. I agree, Bengals fans. He's the worst. What? Wow. So that just broke. Now, Kev, you've been in this industry a long time. Don't you think that was worthy of a tease? Did you really have to just Adam Schefter said this? Like you couldn't have used that as a tease?
I'm sorry. I got excited.
The 5 listeners we have could have waited during the commercial break. No, I'm joking.
Sorry.
That's huge. We'll get into that coming up in a moment, but I want to finish this discussion quick. That is big, by the way. That's huge. These next couple of days are going to be real interesting, especially because that article that just came out today from the Browns, they were only willing to move on from Baker Mayfield if they had an opportunity to get Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. Andrew Berry, the general manager, said that there is no other quarterback on the market via trade or free agent that they feel is better or an upgrade than Baker Mayfield. However, the wild card, according to Jake Trotter with ESPN, was that if depending on what was going on with Desean Watson today, the fallout from that or the ruling from that would determine the Browns' next moves. Desean Watson could be a guy that they target. But let's not act like the Browns are the only team needing a quarterback. Depending on what the public perception is of this Desean Watson news, could the Steelers go after him? The Eagles were really wanting to go hard after Russell Wilson. The Vikings wanted to go hard after Russell Wilson. I mean, you put Desean Watson with Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and Dalvin Cook, look the hell out. And that, so we'll keep an eye on that. As far as that is concerned, don't forget about the Colts. The Colts are a very aggressive team as far as that's concerned. We'll get to that coming up in the third hour. Gary Toole Jr. Kev says they hate Joe like they hate you. They tune in just to tune in. Was that? I don't know if that's a compliment.
That is a compliment.
It is? Okay. All I saw was hate. I'm like, oh yeah, Gary. Well, screw you, buddy. But no. I've always said that. I don't need you to like me. I just need you to listen. And I'm not comparing me to Joe Buck and them dudes. And you know what separates me from Joe Buck?
Couple commas.
Couple commas. Yep. Couple commas. What up, Dylan Carell, best man at my wedding, by the way. He says Tony Romo calling out defenses perfectly from the box annoys me because he couldn't when he held the pigskin. Well played. And he goes, also, Miss Cleo is the best segment of the day. Throwback. So
call me now.
She's the one that said who'd have thought of the baby, right?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if I was like, uh-oh, did I say something wrong there? After I said that, I'm like, oh crap, was I making fun of something else that's going to get me in trouble? Okay, good. That was from that. But wait, was she a fortune teller? Why is she asking you who the father of the baby? Shouldn't I be calling her, hey, Miss Cleo, who's the father of the baby? Why is she asking who the father of the baby? Like she should be telling us who the father of the baby is. I don't get it. Anyways, Tommy Pennington. Okay, I dislike this one too. Tommy's a good dude, but he goes, I don't like Doris Burke.
What? DB?
The chick dribbled between her legs and heels. Like that was badass, like the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
I thought everybody loves DB.
She was holding onto the mic, her notes, had the little earpiece in, wearing a dress, dribbled the ball, holding the mic, dribbled the ball behind her back between her legs, caught it with the opposite hand and crossed over. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. How Doris Burke slander is not welcome here.
No, I don't play that. Doris Burke is great. Her and Mark Jones, when they call games, are great.
Yep.
I love their broadcast. They're not the A team, you know what I'm saying, for ESPN, but they're definitely the B team.
Tommy, we're just giving you a hard time. I mean, she's not your cup of tea. I get it, but no, I'm laughing. I've never heard anyone say bad about
I've
that.
never heard anybody say bad about Doris Burke.
So Jacob Fightmaster, badass name, by the way, says the most annoying baseball mind on the planet is A-Rod.
I thought people liked A-Rod now.
I don't.
Now that he got dumped by J-Lo.
The only thing A-Rod ever said during a game that I was like giving him a standing ovation to was when he called out the nerds of baseball who are like everyone's playing the game the same way now with advanced analytics. And even if their roster is not equipped to play following the analytic model, they do it anyways. Hey, I don't have any power hitters in my lineup, but damn it, the analytics show we got to keep swinging for home runs, and we just keep swinging. So my favorite line that I ever heard Alex Rodriguez use was, he goes, so because teams are so obsessed with trying to play the new school way, they would rather lose playing the new school way than win playing the old school way. And from that point, I've always applauded A-Rod. And I think it was the Reds. Yeah, it was. It was that Reds playoff game from that 60-game shortened season. It was that marathon that we saw. Was that against the Braves? I think it was against the Braves. The Reds and the Braves, I believe.
Yes.
With Trevor Bauer on the mound when he pitched an absolute gem of a game, and the Reds couldn't even put the damn bat in the ball. It was annoying. But he was calling it out, saying, hey, teams would rather lose playing the new school way than win playing the old school way. And I could not agree with that more. Moore's coming in. Gary says, hey, I actually like you. He called me Bubba. Bubba. By the way, you know what drives me crazy when I go, and not you, Gary, but like when I see people I don't know, if I meet strangers and they call me buddy, I know it's because I'm short and I feel like, oh, come over here, little buddy. That's what I hear in my head. I don't like when people call me buddy. It drives me crazy. Like bub. Come on, bub. I'm like, I know I'm 5'5", but I'm not a little kid. Like, you don't need hey, come on, bub. Like, you know what I mean? I say that to my, like little cousins and my niece. I'm like, oh, come on, bub. Come on, let's go. Don't call me bub. Don't call me, Anyways, Gary, you're fine. I just say, he says, I actually like you, Bubba. That was a compliment. Hooday. Whatever. But Nolan Russell says, yes, that Doris Burke crossover was nasty. Yes, that was my favorite highlight of Doris Burke right there. So, anyways. All right, 518-1410. Kev, who we got?
We got Jesse line too.
Jesse, how are you, Jesse?
Hey, what's up, Bob?
Yep, I knew it. I beat you to it, buddy. I knew it. As soon as he said Jesse, I'm like, oh, I know where this dude's going to go to.
My thing with the commentators is, like, why is it always got to be so love-hate? Like, why is it got to be cut and dry? Like, it's really about the content or the game. If I like tune in the Justin Kenner show and you're talking playoff football, I'm like, all right, this guy's like Colin Cowherd. But if you start talking about Kenny Pickett's hands for an hour, you're like Bill Walton. Like, it's really about the content and what you're watching as much as the commentators.
I don't channel my Bill Walton until before I go to sleep at night. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
What? That's when I watch West Coast college basketball. What?
That was a solid joke.
Yeah.
Solid joke.
Yeah. I don't watch West Coast college basketball. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, you're right. It's always like, and half the time I don't even know what the broadcasting assignments are until I check Twitter. And instead of getting updates on games, it's just nothing but a feed of, man, I hate this guy. This broadcaster's the worst. My God, Joe Buck this, Joe Buck that. It drives me crazy. And really, I don't think anyone does a horrible job. I think they all do a great job. It's just their personalities just rub people the wrong way, I guess. But it is interesting nonetheless.
I am with Cubs last with Bill Walton. He does sound like he just left a rave and then now he's doing a basketball game.
But by the way, he's a prime example of a guy that the reason that he is hired to do those games, that ESPN never tells him, hey, be more professional.
Right.
Hey, we need less talk about balloon colors, and we need you to focus on the game. They like him being that way because they don't need him to be a professional broadcaster. They just need him to be Bill Walton, and that's why he's hired. Guys like Shaq and Chuck are the same way. Pat McAfee is brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant.
Yes,
he is a prime example of someone that is just himself and has banked on it beyond belief.
And you said Joel Klatt earlier. That's one of my favorites too. But hey, y'all have a good night.
Hey, take care, Jesse. Appreciate it. 518-1410. Joe Klatt. But see, that's an example like him and Troy Aikman. They're very we were talking about Louis Riddick earlier. Mm-hmm. Louis Riddick was fantastic on Monday Night Football. I said it would have been a mistake to keep Louis Riddick on Monday Night Football moving forward because I think the more that you let the brand build around him on Monday Night Football, the reason that could have been a problem is because you always knew he was going to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out if the right GM job opened up. And it sounds like the Steelers could potentially be that job whenever, what's your current GM's name?
Kevin Colbert.
And his deal's up the day after the draft, right?
Yes, sir. He's allegedly retiring.
So with that, we could see him take that job. He at least interviewed for it, and that makes a lot of sense. So my point is, I wouldn't continue building up the star that is Louis Riddick just to let him go. And now you find yourself in a position trying to replace him and now starting over again. Troy Aikman, Joe Buck was the right way to go, in my opinion. 518-1410. Kev, who's next?
I don't know.
I don't remember it anyway.
Go for it.
Let's see. Hey, what? This is the old school way. I got to get used to this. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh! Oh, it didn't work.
Who the fun of the baby? Wait, did Miss Cleo have a theme song?
Well,
we're going to find out.
YouTube tells all.
We'll find out when we come back. 518-1410. Mark Smith says, hey, you guys leave little Kidder alone. Yeah. Bud. All right. So That Desean Watson thing is interesting.
Very.
We're going to dive into that Desean Watson situation, kind of get more on that. Real quick, Adam Selsner on Facebook says, mentioning Pat McAfee was great. He's definitely that new up-and-coming broadcaster. Hey, Adam, the dude's making how much did he get for that FanDuel deal? 30 mil?
Party M's, man.
That's 30 mil, man. The thing about Pat McAfee that I love is the fact that he's doing SmackDown, or not SmackDown. He's now wrestling at WrestleMania.
Brother.
By the way, he is the best thing in this business right now. As much as I love Stephen A. and Skip and all those guys, and I know everyone has a hard opinion on them, they're the biggest star in our industry right now, and it's not even close. It is Pat McAfee, because that's a dude that's created his own brand. I mean, the Pat McAfee show, I know it's sponsored by FanDuel, but FanDuel sponsors his show. He doesn't work for them.
Right.
He doesn't work for anybody. He tried we almost had a deal done with him to carry his show here, but they dropped too many non-FCC approved words. I was jacked to almost have that deal done. That would have been great. Then he went to that YouTube only because he was doing a lot of Sirius Radio, Sirius X Radio and all that, and he's like, well, why am I making you all this money when I know I can get that same money, ad revenue money coming to me? So not everyone's bad like me that I have to work for a company to make my money. He's like, no, I'm going to have all the money. There's no middleman.
Right.
He had that big old bag of cash, and then he went on that little viral video of him going to all his producers and all the guys in his circle. He went to each one of their houses and dropped bags of cash for them and said, we got paid today. How cool is that? He's the best in this business today, and he does it his way. That's what I love about Pat McAfee. He's not even close, but 30. Adam says 30 million. 30 million. No middlemen.
He's probably got paid more off of that deal than his entire NFL career.
Yeah. Yep. He's the freaking best, man. I'm telling you. I'm jealous of him. That's who Pat McAfee, man. That's the dude right there. Me second, of course. Joking. Big time. All right, 518-1410. Who'd have thought of a baby? We'll be back in a moment.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship, and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital.
Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
O'Reilly. Improve visibility and save money at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Replace your old wiper blades with a new pair of Rain-X Advantage wiper blades and save $10 now at O'Reilly. Our professional parts people will even install them for free. See better and drive safer with new wiper blades from O'Reilly Auto Parts in store or online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet Jet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy all types of real estate completely as is. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Rob's Beer Barn is stocked with the newest seasonal beers and refreshments. That means Rob's Beer Barn has you covered for all your needs, including for the big basketball tournament and St. Patrick's Day parties. At Rob's, you can find all the ice-cold refreshments you'll need. Craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wines, snacks, and ice. Plus, Rob's has new apparel. Call, walk in, or drive through for last-minute items. Stock up today. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ripple Road at Darst, just a mile east of the green. Rob's Beer Barn, just look for the beaver.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com and upgrade today. Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right price. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Selection Sunday, this coming up Sunday, and we'll wait to find out where the Wright State Raiders are going to be seated. Now, I think it's a safe bet to say the Raiders will be a 16th seed. And I think if they're a 16th seed, there is no doubt. Like, I'm almost willing to say that there's a 99.9% chance they're playing at UD Arena next Tuesday or Wednesday night. The reason is, Kev, is because everyone is so adamant that there's no way that they're going to take a 16th seed and give them a home game. Well, the last I checked, UD Arena is not the home floor for the Wright State Raiders. And by the way, for the Flyer fans out there that continue to try to crap on Wright State, and it's not all of you, but it's a good chunk of you that keep reaching out. They're not going to put a bad team on a 16th seed and give them home court advantage. I'm like, but you're the same fan base that tells me Dayton doesn't claim Wright State, and now all of a sudden they're going to have a home court advantage. And where was this energy years ago in 15 when you guys got to play? They literally took the team that plays their home games at UD Arena and put them in the first four at UD Arena. Why would they not do that? And as I've said before, there is more of an incentive to put Wright State at UD Arena because it would probably be the most interesting 16 seed matchup in the history of the first four. Mm-hmm. I'll just put that out there now. no matter if Wright State is a 16 seed and they're in the first four, it will be the most interesting 16 seed matchup in the history of the first four at UD Arena, because deep down, and I love the first four, and I love college basketball, the NCAA tournament. It doesn't matter. Deep down, nobody gives two rips about these 16 seed matchups. You need a reason to care. You need to know, my coworker's son plays on that 16 seed that no one's heard of. Bryant. Kobe? No, Bryant University. Like, I've never heard of him either. Wright State, we know him. Do you think people at Bryant? Where's Bryant?
Good question.
Hey, Alexa, where is Bryant University? Stumped her.
Rhode Island.
Bryant University is in Smithfield, Rhode Island.
There you go.
I'm faster than Alexa.
But it's almost stumped her. That's the thing. So my point is, and this isn't a crack at Wright State, no one gives two rips about the 16 seed matchup, which means they need a reason to care about the 16 seed matchup. You know why you now care about the 16 seed match? Wright State. They will put them in. If they are a 16 seed, and here's the deal too, they're not going to give them a 15 seed. They're either going to be a 14 seed or a 16. Because a 14 seed could justify not putting him in the first four. You're not going to give him a 15 seed when you could justify giving him a 16 seed and justify putting them in the first four. And for those of you out there that say, well, ticket sales are just fine. Ticket sales are fine. But watch the first game, the 16 seed matchup. I go every year. Fans aren't in a hurry. Fans aren't lining up out the arena to fill it up for that 16 seed. Right. Watch the second half of the 16 seed game is always it's always full. Because everyone's getting there, they're getting off for. I promise you, there'll be a lot more interest in the Wright State 16 seed matchup at the first four. So I don't know why. Like, while I'm trying to enjoy this, I'm getting so many Flyer fans that come at me to try to poo-poo all over the Raiders playing in the first four. It's almost like they're against it, because deep down, as I've said before, they hate Wright State, the team that they say does not matter. Well, you don't hate something that doesn't matter. It matters. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything to you. Like Bryant, I don't have an opinion on Bryant. They come to the arena, I don't care one way or another. Now, if I said, man, I don't want Bryant playing a game at UD Arena, guess what? Guess who cares about Bryant now? I do. Just because I don't like him doesn't mean I don't care about him. I don't have an opinion on that. I don't have an opinion on things I actually don't care about. That's why UD, they say they don't care about Wright State. When you actually have meetings and you actually have policies in place to not play that school, don't say you don't care about that school. You care enough about the school to have policies in place to not play them. You know what I mean? Don't say you don't care. You care. So it is what it is. But I'm jacked to find out where the Raiders could potentially play, and I think it's going to be UD Arena. It's just a matter of not where they play, but who they play, and Bryant could be it. So we'll see. They're the ones that I don't even know what conference they're in. But their fan base is the one that had that big old brawl last week.
We should bring all the Wright Staters out to that one. Let them have a road game in the tournament. Bring energy.
No, I'm talking, but like that's the thing too that was funny about that. I mean, it's not funny to see. Well, whatever. The fans all got into it or whatever, got a little heated. They had to stop the game. Was it 30 minutes? 30 minutes, I believe. Is how long that they had to put that game. I think that Bryant game, Kev, in the conference title game for them, I think that the game was delayed for like 30 minutes because they had to kind of get everything situated after the little brawl. So you have a timeout that is it's 3 times the length of the actual halftime. What are you laughing at?
Nothing. Nothing. You get random text messages during the show.
You get never mind.
No, it's not that.
Oh. Okay. I didn't know. It's Friday. Everyone a little freaky on Friday. Heading into the weekend. I didn't know. Good for you. 518-1410. Kev, who we got?
We got Jerry, line 2.
Jerry, gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. First of all, I agree with your take about Wright State and playing at UD Arena. I think that'll happen too. I'm going to change gears a little bit. So I was checking out my normal Raider fan blogs this afternoon, and I noticed one that's usually pretty good about predicting things with Raider players had the Browns sniffing around signing Marcus Mariota, and I wanted to see what your take on that would be if it happens.
I mean, if they do, I mean, they need. I don't know. I don't see the reason. I'm not a Marcus Mariota guy. I mean, I'm not saying he's the worst, but I mean, if they sign him, they sign him. I don't think it's breaking news. I don't think it's going to lead any major sports talk show out there, whether it's radio or TV. Obviously, he's played for your team, so you have a little interest in that, or at least knowledge, or at least it's come across your radar. But I don't think it does anything. I mean, Case Keenum, you're paying $3 million a year to be, or $5 million a year. I'm sorry, $5 million a year to be a backup quarterback. So I just don't see why the Browns would be sniffing around those options unless it's a true upgrade. And Marcus Mariota is not an upgrade over Baker Mayfield. He's just not. So I don't know why the Browns would go that route. I think they have too many other needs that they need to address before they start sniffing around for competition for who the backup quarterback's going to be, I guess.
Well, I think the fit might be as a backup would be being able to bring him in on a sub package. Because he'd be interesting in the backfield with Hunt or Chubb, like on an RPO or an option type of run. He can break off some long runs. I mean, he had one of the longest runs we had from scrimmage last year, so he's still got some speed. I just think they bring an interesting dynamic and element to the Browns offense as like a changeup.
And maybe, and look, they're going to kick tires on every option out there. But the three names that have been brought up the most as far as veteran guys to bring in to either, battle for a backup spot or potentially challenge Baker for the starting spot if Baker really does not show any progression after the shoulder surgery. Guys like Jimmy Garoppolo have been mentioned, Mitch Trubisky, and I'm missing an obvious, the Kirk Cousins route. I mean, those are the three names that have been floating around for the Browns as far as if they wanted to pull the trigger to upgrade at quarterback. Mitch Trubisky is a no for me, even though he's a local guy from up there, whatever. That don't mean anything to me. Obviously, with Garoppolo, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think he's a winner. I mean, it's no surprise that when the Niners have him, they're in the Super Bowl. When they lost him, they were, drafting high. And then he comes back, and they were a game away from getting back to the Super Bowl. You could win with Jimmy Garoppolo, but the thing is, you could also win with Baker, and I think Baker gives you more big play opportunities than Garoppolo, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if any one of those people would be an upgrade over. And Cousins, you have to spend. It costs you so much more against the cap. I don't think any of those.
The dude can't win with Adam Thielen. Either. He has Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, and can't win. What are you going to bring him to Cleveland for? Where he has a good O-line and run game, but he doesn't. The wide receivers are not as talented as what Minnesota has.
Right, I completely agree with you there. So, those would be strange fits, too. But, so I just thought I'd throw that out. And, by the way, all these people falling all over themselves about Denver getting Russell Wilson, I got news for all of those people. Denver's not a very good football team, okay? So, let's, they can stop the Super Bowl parade in Denver because that ain't happening. I'm just telling you that right now. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, people who say that. What would you say? What word would you use to describe people that say that, Jerry?
Overly optimistic. Let's put it that way.
Not stupid or dumb.
No,
I was trying to get you to say something bad about Kev. I was trying to set you up, and you failed. Actually, you passed, but you failed. So there you go. All right, Jerry.
I would never call Kev dumb, man.
There you go.
He's too good of a guy.
I agree.
And he is a good guy. All right, man. Adios.
Have a good weekend.
Later.
518-1410. Kev, who's up next?
He's wrong, by the way. Bob is on line 3.
Oh, you wait till after. Is it Bob Love? Or?
No, it is not Mr. Love.
Okay, I didn't mean to say it like that as if I'm not happy with whoever this Bob guy is. But Bob, welcome. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. Been a long time since I called in. Couple quick things. What's dumb is the NCAA on the CFPs because they're idiots. Missing out on huge amounts of money by not.
Hey Bob, you hit one of the keys on your phone, so it blocked out what you said for a second, so I didn't catch it all. Can you start over?
So the NCAA just totally screwed up by not extending it to 8 teams. They're dumb. They're stupid. I mean, they're missing out on a huge amount of money.
You're talking about college football.
18 playoff. Oh yeah, if they had an 18 playoff, they would. You could take the Power 5 winners of their conferences. All those conference championships would mean something. The advertising dollars would be off the charts. Then you have, no more than 2 more teams in from a Power 5. Then you got 1 at large. Now you got 4 bowl games that actually mean something. And then you're down to the final 2 and final game, which you have now already. So you're looking at, 9 games basically that mean something. And then you control the narrative for the entire month. I mean, it's just idiotic. And then as far as Wright State's concerned, they won their tournament. They shouldn't have to do a play-in game. I mean, it'd be fun to have them in Dayton, but honestly speaking, it's not fair to them. They did what they had to do. They should get a regular seed and not have to do a play-in game.
But like, I don't know, and I beyond understand what you're saying with that, the Wright State thing, but like in the NCAA tournament, when you play, like when you have you gone to the first four? Have you gone to a game there?
I'm actually going Wednesday. I'm going Wednesday too.
Yeah, like I don't feel like that feels less than the NCAA tournament. So my point is if Wright State, like, okay, so you're going to tell them as a 16 seed, just go get your crappers beat in by Arizona or someone, whoever's number one. But at least now you have a chance, and this might be a little weird of a low bar standard to have. But again, if you're going to be a 16 seed, you might as well have. Every other 16 seed just has to go be eaten alive by the number one seed. At least this, you get to play Bryant, or you get to play a team that you're evenly matched up with, and you have a chance to get an NCAA tournament win, and then go on to play a Kansas or somebody. And at least if you do get beat pretty handily by the number one seed, you'll always have a memory of getting your first NCAA tournament win. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. I don't know if the players or the coaches view it that way. To them, it's like, man, we're actually gearing up for an opponent that's kind of equally matched, and we feel like we have a chance to win this. I'm not saying that they don't feel they can beat Kansas, but the doubt is deep in the back of their heads heading into a 16 versus 1.
I think that's the positive of it, but the flip side is you're also, not unless they took them to Columbus afterwards like they did Dayton that one year.
Yep.
We were close, and you don't have to travel that far. The problem is
they had Stanford. Who they faced that second game?
Playing game, and then they got to travel halfway across the country for their next game, and it's just it's an awful lot in a couple of days, and it makes that next game even harder.
Yeah, I think on Lenardi's bracketology, his latest one, I think is Arizona. Let me see this right here. Either way, the winner of the Bryant Wright State matchup, according to his bracket, would go to San Diego to take on the one seed over there. So that's to your point, Bob, about cross the country travel just 2 days later to play after winning, if they win on Tuesday or Wednesday. So who knows? But
right. That's just not fair to them. If it was close, that would be one thing, and I think that makes it you're playing back-to-back games, and makes it a little bit easier, but then you're traveling halfway across the country. It'd be fun to have them here, and then they get a win under their belt. But anyway, well, hey, you guys, I love your show. Love the way you mix it up. Keep it on.
Hey, Bob, real quick, the Flyers, they tip off here here very soon. How you feel about it's not really about UMass, but I feel pretty good about them against UMass. But what do you think about them against VCU potentially tomorrow, and then obviously Davidson most likely on Sunday?
I think they can make a run. I think if they get to the finals, and if they lose to Davidson, they'll get in. But if they don't get to the finals, they're going to NIT. I don't think they're going to get in.
No, at large. Yeah.
Their record's just too wacky. They've got those horrible losses, and then they have these great wins against Virginia Tech and Kansas, and so they can play against the big boys. But the problem is they've got those horrible losses on their record, including LaSalle just a couple weeks ago, which was a stupid loss. They should have never lost that game.
That's the killer. I think that's the killer.
The finals to get in.
That's the killer more than the Austin P, Lipscomb, and UMass Lowell. Those obviously are that's an eyesore. That's killer. But I think that the Flyers would be in the first four right now if they would have beat LaSalle. I really do, and that's what's unfortunate. Right. But you win the next 3 games. You win
games.
What?
The early games were forgivable, kind of like football. You lose one in the beginning of the season, it's forgivable. But you do one late, that's not.
I agree. I agree.
Hey, you guys are awesome.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you calling. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. Kev Nash will be back with us coming up here in just a few moments. So, I definitely understand what everyone says. I've brought this up on multiple occasions that the branding of the first four needs to change. And again, they've technically changed it. It used to be the play-in tournament. Then they rebranded it to the first four to kind of make it not sound so, the play-in tournament. It sounds like something that, the play-in tournament is technically your conference tournament. Wright State won the Horizon League tournament. That is their their play-in tournament. You got to win that tournament to play into the NCAA tournament. And now people view it as you got to win your play-in conference tournament to get into the play-in tournament to get into the actual tournament. I truly believe that the first four is the end. It's not that I truly believe it. It just is. I've used this example before. The Cincinnati Bengals beat the Raiders in the wild card. And everyone just went crazy about how after 30 or 31 years that the Cincinnati Bengals ended their playoff winless drought. Well, isn't the wild card considered what the first four is? That's all the first four is. It's just kind of the wild card round, if you will. Major League Baseball, if the Reds, qualified for the one-game wild card game, that's a playoff game. We would view that. I mean, if the Reds got a playoff win, we'd say, man, David Bell led the Reds to a playoff win. We wouldn't say, well, man, now they play 162 games. Now they got to win this play-in one-game tournament or whatever to get into the actual playoffs. No, we view the one-game wild card for baseball before the changes coming up, of course, but we viewed the one-game wild card as the playoffs. The Bengals and the Raiders. The Bengals ended their 31-year winless playoff drought by getting a win in what the play-in tournament is, which is a wild card round. No one calls it that. So why do we do that with this? Why do we take the first four and try to label it as something different than what the wild card is in other sports? I wish that the NCAA tournament would just call it the wild card round. We don't have any negative perceptions of what the wild card is for football or for baseball. So why for basketball as the first four are we saying that, oh man, they're being punished having to play an extra game to get into the tournament? Go to UD Arena next week for the first four and tell me that that's not the NCAA tournament. It's top notch. The guys at UD Arena, they know what they're doing, man. They've hosted more tournament. This building has hosted more tournament games than any other venue in the country. So they know what they're doing. They're high class, top notch, professional. This is the NCAA tournament. It's a lot of talk about this without the actual bracket coming out on Sunday, but I think a lot of people do believe that the Raiders are most likely going to be a team that is playing in the first four that's playing at UD Arena next Sunday. But I agree with everyone's point about that. But man, when you put it that way, it sounds so negative. Well, you got to play in the play-in tournament just to get to the tournament that you already, qualified for. Well, if Wright State beats Bryant or whoever they are matched up with in the first four next week, if they make it into the first four, that's a lot of money that program makes. That's a lot of money that the conference makes. That's a lot of, you already get a lot of money for making the NCAA tournament. Then you win in the NCAA tournament on top of that. I'll tell you what, there's a conference, the Horizon League. They're big Wright State fans right now. If they're a big fan of all their teams, but if they're a first four team, my goodness, I think actually the first four is super high pressure for Wright State because they will be expected to win. I don't think any of you out there, I'll kill the music on this because I want to continue this conversation. Let's just be clear. If Wright State gets a 16 seed and they're not in the first four, and let's say they get paired with I have Joe Lenardi's latest pulled up here. So Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas, and Baylor. Okay. Joe Lenardi has the winner of Wright State and Bryant heading to San Diego to play one seed Arizona. Let's say that Wright State does not get a first four nod and that they are just thrown into the fire, that they have to play Baylor in Fort Worth. Okay. Let's say that Wright State plays Baylor 16-1, that they're not in the first four. They're just being thrown into the wolves with Baylor. Are we going to sit there and say, man, that's a must win? Wright State, they have to win. Who's going to put a must win situation on a 16 seed? No, I'm not. You shouldn't. The haters will, those who are trying to dilute what Wright State's accomplished. You'll sit there and say, well, that's fine that you got to the tournament, but you got to win one eventually. Well, how many 16 seeds, people with brains know that if you look at a 16 seed, it's really dumb to sit there and say, yeah, well, you need to win. You need to win it. You think Coach Nagy doesn't want to win it? You think the players don't want to win it? They're going to do everything that they can. There's a reason that only one 16 seed has ever won a 16-1. It doesn't happen. It doesn't. It's beyond rare. It's only happened once in the history of the entire tournament. Now, the players will never tell you they don't expect to win. Coach Nagy's not preparing not to win. But we know as fans, 16-1 doesn't happen. So I keep getting all this. Well, it's fine that they made the tournament, but they need to win when they get in there. Okay, that's super. But if they do lose to a 1 seed, that means you're a 16. That means you did what you're supposed to, technically. I'm not making excuses or trying to soften the blow for if they do get pummeled in a 16 versus 1 matchup. There's a very good possibility that happens because it happens every year. Happens every year. Does that disqualify what they accomplished this year? Hell no. But I will say that you got to be careful what you ask for if you're Wright State, because if you are Wright State and you get that first 4 nod, now you're a program that's only made it 4 times in program history. You don't have a lot of experience in the NCAA tournament. These big games are kind of, once every 4 years now with Coach Nagy. This is the second time in his run. It's a completely new roster. That's what I said was most impressive about Coach Nagy, is the fact that it wasn't just the Loud and Love roster that he made it to the NCAA tournament with. He loses Loud and Love, and the very next year, back in the NCAA tournament. That's just how good of a coach Scott Nagy is. I said, I think he's the best in town. That's not a shot at Anthony Grant. That's just how good I think Nagy is, because Nagy does more with less. You talk about all the stuff Anthony Grant's accomplished. That's super. I'd hope you can win a lot of games when you have an Obi Toppin NBA caliber player. I would hope you could do that when you have an Ibby Watson and a Jalen Crutcher and all those guys. It's easy to do that. It's easier, not easy. It's easier. It's not easy is when you have a bunch of guys that sometimes your only offer is coming from Wright State. And yet here you are back in the NCAA tournament again. So anyways, it's besides the point. It's not a shot at anybody. It's just my take on this. But I think you got to be careful what you ask for if you're Scott Nagy, Wright State and company, because if you make the first 4, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt of the 16 versus the 1 perception. If they don't make the first 4 and they have to play Arizona right off the bat or Baylor and they get beat by 30 plus, well, that's what 16 seeds do. That's not what they want to do. They want to compete. They want to win the game. But history tells us it's unlikely. It's very, very unlikely. However, you get that first 4 nod. I can't crack this mic next week and do the fanboy. Man, it's just great that they're here. It's just swell that they're here. No, you get that first 4 nod. Now, Wright State, you got to win. You got to win, because Wright State, the highest they've ever been seeded was 14. And as long as you're in the Horizon League, and unless you all of a sudden turn into Butler, which won't happen, you are not going to be seeded any higher than 14, which means you are always going to have those 14 versus 3s. They played the last time they were in the NCAA tournament, they were a 14 seed against Tennessee. They got pummeled by 30. Okay, you expect that. Horizon League school going up against a very good SEC school. Okay, not an excuse. It's just you kind of expect it. There's a reason that when Cinderella teams go on their runs that it's so special, because it's unexpected. You know what's expected? 30-point pummelings by high majors versus mid majors, low majors. That's kind of what the reality is of the NCAA tournament. What makes the tournament magical is when the Wright States of the world do the unthinkable and they knock off those top teams. So there's that. So my point is they're not going to be in a position. The Horizon League's not great, but they're usually not this bad to where the winner of the conference is a 16 seed. I'd go out on the limb and say Wright State will never be a 16 seed again in the NCAA tournament if they actually get that seed on Sunday. So this may be their best shot ever in program history at getting an NCAA tournament win. I think that if you sit there and say that, of course, they don't want the first 4, they'd rather have the 1 seed matchup, maybe it's going to be tough, but I think that if you get that first 4 matchup, all the pressure is on Wright State now. I think there's a ton of pressure on Wright State. If on Selection Sunday, because this is our last show before Monday, like when we do this show on Monday, we'll know exactly who's in. We'll know if UD's in or not. We'll know if Wright State's in or not. We'll know all that. Or not Wright State's in or not. We'll know where Wright State is. We'll know if UD's in. We'll know where Wright State and Ohio State are playing at. We'll know if UD is in. But as of right now, this is all I'm just assuming. But if Wright State gets that first 4 nod on Selection Sunday, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be jacked because it's actually a matchup that we could preview and say Wright State has a good shot at winning it. And if they have a good shot at winning it, they have to win it. Because I think it's a loss that you will always circle and it'll always haunt you as a program. Because in the NCAA tournament, as a mid-major team like Wright State, especially in the Horizon League, you're never going to be seeded higher than 14. You're always going to be going up against bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic teams, deeper. You're not going to be expected to win those. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen enough for you to sit there and say, yeah, we'll get it one of these years, maybe. But you know what you don't get often in the NCAA tournament? A Bryant, an Alcorn State. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. That's what I mean by this. At the end of the day, you have to be able to take advantage of this opportunity and get this win. And I think that Wright State can do it no matter who the 16 seed is they're paired up against. But you got to be careful what you ask for. I want the first four, but I'm also very damn well aware that if they make the first four, if they're seated in the first four, that the pressure is now going to be through the roof. This isn't going to be your typical NCAA tournament appearance for Wright State. It's not going to be that, oh, man, go give it your best shot. Now it's, all right, you better go freaking win. You better go win. Bryant is a like opponent. Norfolk is a like opponent. Okay? Or Nichols, I'm sorry. Nichols is a like opponent. Like, there's no excuse. Nichols, Alcorn State, Bryant, they're a like opponent. Get it done. Find a way to get it done. I think there's a lot of pressure on Wright State if they make the first four, as much as I'm looking forward to that, if that's the case. All right, 518-1410, more of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash when we come back.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Sure, we have 30 seconds to tell you that drivers who switch to Progressive could save big. But then what? Well, radio has been called theater of the mind, so let's tell a story with sound effects. Wow, it's like I was in the story. Almost makes me forget this was supposed to be about saving big with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy all types of real estate completely as is. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Give your home a fresh look and save 11% on everything. Pittsburgh Ultra Interior Flat Paint and Primer in One's high-quality acrylic latex formula provides a durable and washable finish. Right now, a gallon is only $9.97 after rebates. That's $10 off. Hurry in. This deal's only good through March 12th. Get 11% off everything at Menards. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Ray Magliozzi here. eBay Motors has the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them. And if there's one thing I love, it's great parts and great prices. eBay Motors, let's ride.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with rain, a high near 45. Tonight's going to be cloudy with rain and snow, a low near 18. And tomorrow's going to be mostly cloudy with a chance of snow, a high near 25. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Propane, keeping utilities simple and families warm since 1952. See how and more at culletpropane.com.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity during tax season because so much sensitive info is all together.
Before we start the annual meeting of Sean's personal info, has anyone seen Social Security number? Not me. Nope. Nuh-uh. Oh, no. He's been stolen.
LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, we'll work to fix it. No one can monitor all transactions, but you can save up to 25% off your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
The graphics are so real on this video game console I bought with the savings from switching to Progressive 10 years ago. I can't tell what's real and what's the game, which I think is what people want, in the future, which it is currently.
So switch to Progressive and save big, because those savings can add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy all types of real estate completely as is. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, rental portfolios. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and speak with one of our friendly staff members at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Tip off to frickin' madness. When we say tip off, not only are we talking about every college basketball game available, but our new barbecue rib tips only at Frickers. Delicious bite-sized barbecue rib tips with your choice of dipping sauce. Every game played to the march to the national championship, and domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. Tip that personal picture. Tip off to the national championship of college basketball and frickin' barbecue rib tips at the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Frickers.
I need 4 more of the biscuit carnitas, 2 burnt end platters, 3.
The kitchen at Kai's Barbecue is firing on all cylinders.
Greg, help me bring these to the pickup counter.
He needs food runners who can hit the ground quickly.
86 on the chicken and we're short-staffed. Let's pick it up.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
If you're suffering every day with joint pain, stop and listen. You can get real, lasting relief now with natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetic. Hey, it's Keith Byers. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue with no surgery and no drugs. This is the relief you've been hoping for. The unique protocols at QC Kinetics were created by a physician with years of study in regenerative restorative medicine. They're treating patients every day in hundreds of clinics nationwide with remarkable success, life-changing results with zero downtime. It's the new, better, smarter, non-surgical, non-invasive way to deal with joint pain. And yes, they're right here, ready to help you now. Call for a free consultation. Make this spring and summer your best ever with no joint pain holding you back. Give them a call at 937-936-0325. One more time, 937-936-0325.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Service Manager at Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, recipient of Honda's President's Award. When your vehicle needs service, we make it convenient. Open 6 days a week, including all day Saturday. We also welcome same-day appointments and walk-ins as well. Our technicians are factory trained, and we offer a new state-of-the-art facility, clean waiting rooms, loaner cars, and free alignment checks as well. Ask for the $99.95 alignment special. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, Route 35, just east of 675. Between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover, exceptionally common sense.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Holy moly, the week is wrapping up already. 5:45 here in the Miami Valley. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. The Dayton Flyers, they'll tip off coming up here in about 15 minutes. They got UMass, as I said earlier, unless the line shifted, but it was they're a 10.5-point favorite coming up later on this evening, or I shouldn't say later on, like in 15 minutes from now. But that's big, man. Like, and look, we've seen it all comes down to this. Like, Dayton, it's been so much about what they didn't do in November, about the losses in November. And then it was about everything that they did to go on this run by beating VCU, taking care of Davidson, but then they lost to LaSalle. I will say this. If Dayton gets in, that means they earned it. Mm-hmm. And if they don't make it, that means they earned being at home too, not being in. And I don't mean that in a trolling way. It's just like, there's no way around it. I think whatever decision the committee makes when it comes to Dayton, it's justified. They have enough high-quality wins to put them in. Their net ranking is very high, right there in I think in the 50s or right there in the 60 range. They're set. You could put them in. And I don't think anyone out there outside of saying, oh, well, how could you put someone in that lost to UMass Lowell? But first of all, upsets happen. But it was 3 straight losses, 3 bye games, home games that UD puts on there to pad their schedule, and they lost them. So you could justifiably keep them out, and I don't think anyone has a right to be upset about it. Like, I don't care if they get to the title game, Kevin, lose at the buzzer. If the committee decides to keep the Dayton Flyers out, they are justified in doing so. You can't lose to LaSalle and have 4 quad 4 losses or 3 quad 4 losses and expect to get in. Teams don't get in with those many quad 4 losses.
Do you know how many quad 1 wins they have?
Quite a
3?
few. They have quite a few. I know, obviously, the Kansas one, I think the VCU one was a win, if I'm not, or the Davidson was. I have to pull that up to see on the net ranking website. But that's what I mean. Their resume. We talked about that with Joe Lenardi. He did say it was one of the most obscure resumes that he can remember in his time doing this. Mm-hmm. Because if you just look at it as, oh, look at how many losses they have against Net 4 or Q4 teams. Oh yeah, they're not going to make it. But then you look at all the wins they have against Q1 teams and Q2 teams. You're like, what the hell? This is the most crazy resume I've ever seen. So that's what I mean by that. Dayton wins this conference tournament. Who cares? This conversation doesn't matter. But let's just assume that they get to the title game on Sunday and lose at the buzzer. And Flyer fans, it'll be mixed emotion because a lot of you will feel, oh, there's no way they keep us out. We lost to the number 1 team in the conference at the buzzer in the conference championship game. We beat Kansas. We beat Virginia Tech. We beat Miami. We won that invitational in Orlando. We have all these quad 1 wins. There's no excuse. They're justified in putting you in. But if they keep you out, they have every excuse to keep you out as well. So I just don't want any complaining from Flyer fans because at the end of the day, the resume speaks for itself. It's one of the top resumes out there, but it's one of the worst resumes out there. It's justifiable no matter what direction the committee goes in. But that's why just win and you're in. Yeah. Win and you're in. But I have no doubt. And the perception of the tournament is that if you don't make the tournament, you're not good. And the perception of the tournament is if you make it, that you're really, really good.
Right.
And that's not always the case. How many average teams record-wise are in the NCAA tournament? But a lot of it has to do with the fact that you have losses against Q1 teams
about
and a lot of Q1 wins. Yeah. So
about 40 average teams in the tournament every year.
Someone had reached out to me earlier and said, man, if UD doesn't make it and Ohio State doesn't make it, which Ohio State's making it, but they're like, is Wright State the best college basketball team in Ohio? And I said, listen, I'm repping Wright State all week. Everyone knows my love. They're not the best team. They're not even close to being the best college basketball team in the state of Ohio. Toledo, I would actually say, has had a better season than Wright State. Mm-hmm. They just lost in their tournament game last night, and they probably won't win. They're a 26-win team. They won their regular season title outright. And they won't get it. And I think that they're better than Wright State. That's not a shot at Wright State. I mean, they've just had a better season. I think Wright State then would be a hell of a game. All I'm saying is from a resume standpoint, it's a better resume, but they didn't win the conference tournament. And that's really what it comes down to. So just because you make it doesn't mean that you're great. And just because you don't make it doesn't mean that you're bad. Dayton can go on a run. You take this roster right now, say, forget this conference tournament, Dayton, you're in. They could easily make it to the second weekend of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt in my mind. But they've also shown that they can lose on the very first game of the weekend, too. So take care of this conference tournament. Everything's going to be fine. But I love conference tournament weekend. It's my favorite. Tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, that rush to selection Sunday, man, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting.
I think if UD makes it to the A-10 title game, I think they punch their ticket. I don't think they will have to win. I'm looking at those wins, and I'm looking at the other teams because I look at the Indiana team and they keep winning, and that's bad for UD as an at-large situation. But I think if you get 2 more wins, one, UMass isn't like a big-time victory, but I forget who they would have in the next round if they won and everything like that. But that's going to be another quality win.
UMass, they'll have VCU.
So you beat
VCU's
VCU,
a hell of a win.
You beat VCU and you go to the title game on blown out by 1,000,000 points. I think you're probably in. I think you get 2 more wins, a quality win over VCU. I think you're probably in. Obviously, barring like nothing super duper crazy happens in these other conferences, like, I don't know, Vanderbilt wins the SEC. Because, I mean, Auburn just lost.
Remember the bid stealers, too.
Yeah. Long as Vandy don't win, but like Vandy's like on the bubble, too. You know what I'm saying? Vandy just came back from 17 last night from Scottie Pippen Jr. went bananas in the second half, and they came back from 17 down and won. Long as he comes back to earth and starts scoring 15 points instead of 28 points.
Is Stackhouse still the coach out there?
Yes.
Still. Good. I forgot about Jerry Stackhouse. How about Georgetown, man?
Ugh.
They're bringing him back, and I'm not like pulling for anyone to fire anybody, but man, you went 1-19 in conference play. No, they went over in conference play.
Yeah, they went over, and they won
their last 20 is what they did.
They were horrible last year, but they won the Big East tournament title, got the bid and everything like that. And then this year they were horrible, bad.
But like, you don't see teams that bad. Like, even the bad teams at the bottom of your conference aren't that bad. That Georgetown was bad for considering where they were. Unreal. So here's the deal. I got this thrown at me a little bit ago. So the last caller that had called in, I don't know if you were on the call or not. I can't remember now.
Last call out, Bob. Yeah,
with Bob. So Bob was talking about the fact that, that it would be an insult to Wright State if they got the first 4 bid. And I said, but there's a lot of ways to look at that. I think that, I think that depending on your history as a program determines whether or not that's an insult. I don't think it's an insult at all. You're in the NCAA tournament. Let's just be clear. I don't look at the first 4 as an insult at all. It's the wild card round. As I used the example earlier, the Bengals hadn't won a playoff game in 31 years. They beat the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, in the wild card round. Did anyone say, well, that doesn't count because the wild card round, you have to win your wild card game to get into the first round of the playoffs? Like, right? We don't call that the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
We don't call it the divisional rounds up next. But you know what I mean? Like, we don't say, oh, man, the Bengals beat the Raiders in the first round of the playoffs. What do we say? That the Bengals beat the Raiders in the wild card round. Like, the wild card, why call it the wild card round? Why not just call it the first round? And you get a first round bye for the division winners and all that. They call it a wild card round. To me, that separates that round from the actual playoffs. But how come we don't view it that way in the NFL? How come we don't do that with baseball? Man, the Reds play 162 games. With the old playoff format, you win 70. Let's say you win 85 games, you get the 1-game wild card, and they win it. Does anybody say, oh man, the Reds got that? Finally, they get a playoff win? No, we say, well, now they, or we don't say, oh, that doesn't count as a playoff win. They had to win that game to get to the playoffs. No, we count it as an actual playoff win. So that's the problem I have with all of this, as far as I'm concerned, is the perception of the first 4. I think that that's unfair to view it that way. I think that it is not unfair at all for Wright State to be in the first 4, period. I think that that's kind of where we're at. I know Kev was kind of out of the room a little bit ago when I had this discussion, but I'm curious his thoughts on this because what were you going to say?
No, yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think the problem is when the first 4 started, it was branded as the opening round. Mm-hmm. And once you brand something, the play-in. Once you brand it that way, people lock it in forever. So it's going to be years before people view it as the tournament just like the Thursday and Friday games. Like, it's going to be years, man, because that's the initial branding of the first four. So it's going to take us some time for people to see it that way. You know, the wild card, I mean, it's been decades that has been set up this way. So if Wright State is playing in the first four and they do get that win, oh, you best believe we party in.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the concern I have. Now, Ron brings up a good point. Ron Howard said a 16th seed is not expected to win. A 16th seed is a reward for making the field. I agree with you, Ron. They're not expected to win against a 1. For one, it's only happened once in the entire history of the tournament. So my point was, and I love Wright State. That's where my allegiance falls. But be careful what you ask for, because you want that first 4 game. You better get it, and you better capitalize on it. And here's why. Wright State, the highest they've ever been seeded is a 14 seed. They've never been a 16 seed ever. You usually don't. You have to be like usually a bid stealer that is not very good. Like, it's even tough to get a 16 seed. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be a very bad, good team to get it. I don't think Wright State's a bad, good team. I think they're a very, very good team, but they have a lot of losses from the slow start to start the season. As I said earlier, the seed doesn't always replicate who you are as a team. It replicates your resume for the whole year. But be careful what you ask for. Wright State will probably never be a 16 seed again. So this is a rare opportunity for you to get to play in a tournament game that you are going to be evenly matched with an opponent. If you get a 16th seed and you're not in the first 4 and you have to go play Arizona, or you have to go play Kansas, or you have to go play Gonzaga, Kev, no one is expecting Wright State to win that game.
Right.
No one is saying you have to win that game. I don't think Coach Nagy is telling his team, guys, we don't have a shot. I don't think the guys are telling their coach, we don't have a shot. I think there's doubt in the back of everyone's mind. They just won't say it publicly, but they know basketball. They know it better than we do, and we know that they don't really have a shot against Gonzaga and teams like that. So my point is if they get that 16th seed and they're not in the first 4, they're that feel good. Oh man, they made the NCAA tournament. It's David versus Goliath. It's Wright State versus Gonzaga. But you know what? That's not the feel if they're in the first 4, because if they make the first 4, I think all the pressure falls on Wright State now. You will never be a 16th seed again, most likely. You will never have a chance to play on a floor in your city. You will never have a chance in the tournament to most likely, as long as you're a Horizon League school, to play against an evenly matched opponent. So if Wright State doesn't win a first 4 game, that's a problem. And I think that pressure could really mount on them. I really do. I think you got to be careful what you ask for. I, as a fan, want the first 4 game. I think the program wouldn't mind the first 4 game. The program and the conference itself is pulling for the first 4 because it gives them a chance to get a tournament win. And financially, that's a nice little payoff. Yeah. But you got to be careful what you ask for, because as a 16 seed going up against a 1, you're the cute little feel-good David versus Goliath story. You know what you're not when you're a 16 versus 16 in front of 13,000 fans at UD Arena in the first 4?
Favorite.
You're the favorite. And now if you lose, now it looks like you failed in the tournament. Is it fair? No, but that's the reality of it. All I'm saying is I'm happy no matter what happens on Sunday. I'm really hoping that we can watch them play here in Dayton. I think that'd be fantastic. But be careful what you ask for, because if they lose to a 1 seed, it's, well, you know, they're not supposed to win that. It's a cute, feel-good story, David. But if you lose to Bryant or whoever the other 16th seed is, now it feels like you squandered an opportunity that doesn't happen often for teams like Wright State, where you face a team in the tournament that you're evenly matched with, or at least close to being evenly matched with. You got to be careful what you ask for. And I'm not saying that they're going to regret it. I'm just saying I think that the vibe will be different. This will be the most pressure Wright State has ever felt playing in an NCAA tournament game if they make the first 4. If they're just a 16 versus a 1, it's like all the other tournament games they've played in, where, well, we'll see if they can make it interesting and maybe pull off one of them upsets. But I think you got to be careful what you ask for. The first 4 changes the perception of who they are in the tournament.
Yeah, and especially going up against Bryant. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I've seen a ton of Bryant games. I saw the highlights and that scuffle that their fans got into with the other team and everything like that. So I did a little YouTube watching. This kid for Bryant,
25 a game.
Yeah, Peter Kiss, like he's like one of those YouTube dunkers. Like he gets busy on the fast break. So he's public enemy number 1 if Wright State plays them. Like you're going to have to slow him down. 25 points a game, 6 boards a game, gets 3 dunks a game from the guard spot. So he loves to leak out and everything like that. So obviously we're not doing like a game preview, but like that's the guy that we need to worry about. You know, the guys are going to have to play some lockdown defense. One thing about it is obviously there's the 16 seeds in this. There's 2 sets of 16. Do you think Wright State is one of the lower 16 seeds in this. Like, maybe it's because, like you said, we got our fan goggles on. We watch a ton of Wright State. Man, we know how good this team is. But, like, man, always picture the 16 seed playing in the first round is the bid stealer from whatever, the MEAC or something like that, or maybe the worst team from the Horizon League jumping up and biting Wright State or Northern Kentucky, them getting in there. Like, Wright State, like you said, they were like basically 2 games away from winning the conference outright. Like,
half game.
Yeah, a half a game out. So, like, they're upper echelon in their conference, and they've been upper echelon in the conference for years.
I don't think it's about that, because Northern Kentucky would have been a first 4 team that they won. It's about the conference. It's the perception of the conference and how the conference is graded, which is why Wright State or NKU, which is why Lenardi said the winner of that Horizon League title game would have been a 16 seed, and most likely in the first 4. But
even Cleveland State.
Oh yeah, even Cleveland State.
Okay.
Yep. Again, a half game separated Wright State. I mean, they were a half game away from winning the title outright. Like, that's how tight everything was from 1 through 6. But oh, look, that's the cue right there. That's the cue. All right, the one thing we know, Wright State is in. It's just a matter of where and who. The Dayton Flyers in. We don't know. We're going to find out. They're in action, tipping off right now against UMass. They'll have VCU tomorrow, most likely, and then Davidson Sunday if they win in the A-10 title game. Well, UD and Wright State have never made the NCAA tournament in the same year.
Wow.
Will that come to an end this year? Wright State's in. Will the Dayton Flyers be in? That's the big question. We'll find out who the Raiders are going to be squared up against and where they're going to be seated at this Sunday, Selection Sunday. Really great stuff, guys. It's been a fun week. We'll do it again next week. The NCAA tournament is back. A week from today, games will be going on. Like, we'll already be a day and a half into this tournament by then. That's pretty damn exciting. I'm pretty jacked. Baseball's coming back. Did you know that?
Good time to be alive.
It is. All right, folks, have a great weekend. Until next week, it's been the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. On 1410 ESPN Radio.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with